Hello and welcome to RPG Research. This is a GM workshop day. Saturdays used to be 9 a.m. to noon. We moved them to 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're still getting kind of settled in here. A few players we had from Thursday's groups. So anyway, we're playing the One Ring role-playing game, and then if we have some time left over, Danielle will start running Adventures in Middle-earth, which is the One Ring role-playing game adapted to D&D 5th edition.
So you're playing the same game, just different.
Yeah, different, but a different adventure and such. And so in Thursday's session, we got about 2/3 of the way through the adventure. We've been talking about some other stuff off the air here, and then I had to start and stop the stream because the cameras went kablooey. And you'll have to forgive me. I'm on 2 hours of sleep, and I got to hurry and eat here because my blood sugar is low. Otherwise, I will be useless. But I wanted to go ahead and put us on the air here so that folks know we're getting ready here to start the game. It'll be the Marsh, which is the introductory adventure in the One Ring role-playing game by Cubicle 7. This is the larger bound version as opposed to the slipcover two-book version. It's the newer revised one. I like this game because it has some good behavior modification. I mean, yes, go ahead, Daniel.
Before it drops out of my head, have you heard from Dan today?
From Brazil?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Just curious. And, yeah.
She wants to know if she's picking him up.
Yeah, basically.
Right, well, it depends if he's on time or not.
Yeah.
If his flight's not delayed, then I can pick him up.
Okay.
If his flight's delayed, then I will need your backup help, please.
Yep.
So.
And then your house will... Alright, we'll discuss that off air.
Okay.
Never mind.
But I got the guest room ready. I just got some clean laundry to dry, or some bedding to dry, and I put the futon on. So, tell you a bit I've been. I swapped out sofas in the guest room downstairs because Drake had put a sofa in there, and I wanted the hideaway bed in there.
Okay.
So
I'm glad you moved to hideaway by yourself.
I moved the one sofa out, which I had to take the feet off and move the whole entertainment center out of the way because it was too close to the door. So I got that out, and then I moved the hideaway bed in, and then I deployed that. But that hideaway, the mattress is like this thick, so I threw the futon mattress on top of that, so it's actually comfortable.
So moving my furniture beforehand was just to
warming
you up.
Yeah, yes, yes, that was nothing. And then I've been trying to scrub out, because John was teasing like yesterday about how he spilled that Coke all over the stairs, and it's been ruining it. So I tried to get it out. I spent like 2 hours with the shampooing, first with the hand shampooer and then the whole entire shampoo steam vacuum, trying to clean the steps, and it's just smearing black all over the steps.
Yeah,
so I'm going to have to pay a professional.
So you were replaying that play?
Well, I think if I just pay a professional come in, because they've got a wand that'll suck it all out.
I've got a professional who's good and inexpensive.
Okay.
So
I would like to get him out here ASAP.
Yeah. My guy did my whole house for $65.
Oh, holy crap. That's not
Wow.
what I have. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was very happy with it.
Let's get him scheduled right away.
So while you were trying to scrub that out, were you saying out darn spot?
Yes. Out I say, will nothing clean this? Yeah. Remember, I played a lot of Shakespeare. I didn't play that, obviously.
Maybe you can get like 3 witches that will help you with that.
Boil, toil, and trouble. So, forgive me. I know this has been a bad thing, eating on set, but literally, I am running from show to show here, and I gotta eat because I'm. Woo-hoo. Why don't you guys summarize what you've done in the adventure, why you're on this adventure, and what your character's motivations are, etc. So start with you, Dan.
I am Baron of the Mountains. Now, Baron the Carp Killer.
I have taken over John's. And
Whoa.
I still haven't said what I've done.
Oh, sorry. But
He's got to explain his whole perspective. I know. Each of you take time because I got to eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So take your time and
We're
talk
running out of
about.
time here.
Go all the way back to what you remember at the beginning of the adventure and from your character's perspective.
I work in and around the mountains. I got word of a dwarf king, or who's missing an important family member. And I figured I'm fairly decent at navigating wild areas. It could be of some of assistance. So I, lent my aid. And we had some problems with just the diplomacy of dealing with the dwarves. You know, we had a dwarf who, I guess, spent too much time under the rocks. Was too much in favor of a policy. But I knew this dwarf was a man of action. So I showed him I too am a man of action. So we went to go find his kin. Along the way, I found a brother or sister at arms in the grim struggle that is living in this rough terrain. And we sought to find the dwarf kin. We came across some elves who were none too happy about dwarves being in their lands, or us being in their lands either. So I let them know that, we're trying to remove those dwarves from their lands. But along the way, I got caught up in some vines and was surmisely choked out. And that is the last I remembered. I do hope that I was the only one who was taken in by this.
Thank you. Danielle?
Was John choked out by the vines?
Yes, he landed in the boat.
Okay.
So go all the way back to his early experience and why he's on this
I
adventure.
don't know the early experience because I
Alright.
came in late.
Alright, well then read from that first.
Yeah. So I took over for John, and am now playing Bele since my original character.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about the
Bride-
character first.
Yeah.
The one you played.
The bride was caught up in vines, and in my true fashion was was incapacitated and unable to become redone, and
I tried. I
was
really
eaten,
did try.
was eaten despite the best efforts from the party. As far as I know, eaten.
Who was your fellowship focus?
I didn't get one because I came in an hour late.
Oh, the bride was my fellowship focus.
Okay, so you get a point
Oh,
of shadow.
really?
Yeah.
No, 2 points.
2 points of shadow.
When I come to, I'm
Yes.
still knocked out.
Yeah.
Her fellowship focus was her dog, who's probably abandoned us by now.
Yeah.
No,
Since
it
we
has to
never
be
talked.
another player hero.
Yeah, I just was going with the, oh crap, I came in, I don't know who my fellowship
But there is a
focus
very
is.
sad dog left behind.
There's a very sad dog left
Mm.
behind. Who will probably be very, very nice to
Bobby will keep an eye out on the dog.
to the party. Which means we need the dog sheet if it's in there. Oh wait, we probably don't have the dog sheet
For Tor?
For Tor. It's a name.
That's okay. We'll get that.
And now I am playing Billy, who went to go find his kin. And he's also looking for more adventure, just like his father did when he found
And his father's 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 father.
and his father's father. Because we were the traveling adventuring dwarves. That's
For
all
those
I
who
know
know
because I
Monty
can't
Python,
go like.
I'm Katie. I'm playing Poppy Smallborough. Poppy is a kick-butt hobbit.
So which branch of the hobbits is it? So I'm aware of the stouts, the Proudfoots, the tall fellows, you know,
Tall fellows right too?
yeah, have you got all? I'm not familiar with the kick butts.
They're an obscure branch of the stouts. They are the seriously stout.
Well, Poppy, maybe Poppy is the beginning of
There
the
you
kick
go.
butts branch.
I thought she was a
lineage.
branch of the Tuckus.
Nicely done, Dan.
Which in Tolkien parlance, there's also the Valar Tolkus, who was pretty much kick butt. Never made that connection before. I think he was like the warrior one or something like that. Maybe he was the smith. No, that was Orme. I can't remember now. But anyway, yeah.
So Poppy's father was a tradesman, a merchant, retailer as opposed to wholesaler. but Poppy has a wanderlust like you wouldn't believe,
I don't
and
believe it.
she could not go into retail. It just was not her bag. And her dad is worried about her, but is secretly impressed with her conviction. She was raised by her dad and her grandmother. Her grandmother taught her how to hunt and use a bow, and Poppy has taken those skills and run with them.
So, basically, after a life of customer service, you decided just to walk away.
Pretty much.
See, that I can believe.
I
Pretty
believe
much.
that too.
Are you done?
I am finished.
Okay.
But what did you remember last?
Oh, they were in the boat, and the gallows weed was picking off the party one by one, and she was able to save most of her companions but one, and she is very upset that she was not able to save them all. She might be a kick-butt hobbit, but she's got a tender heart.
Excuse me. I'm Trevor Brandybuck. And like most hobbits, I was fairly settled, and then Gandalf showed up. Oh, Gandalf. Came to my coming of age ceremony and impressed me so much that I had to go find him. I wanted to be just like him. And at first he told me no. But Brandybucks are stubborn, especially when it comes to a little bit of mischief. And so he took me under his wing, taught me a few
You put it
things.
a church lady.
You just ruined my day. And then Gandalf figured I had learned enough and set me out to see the wide world. And so, heard of this grand adventure. Oh, we'll go save some dwarf king or dwarf kin of the dwarf king and maybe do all these things. But you know what? Adventure's not really all it's cracked up to be. First it's all this, ooh, and oh no, isn't this wonderful? And then there's the screaming and the running and the people getting strangled
The dying.
by the gallows weed and people dying and I honestly don't think this would have happened if that stupid dwarf hadn't picked up that stupid thing. Because every time a dwarf sees something shiny, people start dying.
So what is it your character did about that because of this belief?
So my plan is once the action starts is I'm going to take that stupid box from Belly and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to tell him if he comes near this box again, I'm going
And
to.
Billy's unconscious, so it's easy enough to snag it.
So when he comes
however,
to, I'm going to let him know that he's not to touch this again because Dwarven Cursed Greed has historically killed people.
So
And I
Riley,
don't want no more
Riley
people
was
dying.
playing now Caranthir, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caranthir was conscious. So he would witness you pilfering.
Poppy's conscious.
Oh, Poppy's con. Yeah, so let you role play because I'd rather not. But so do you want to try to stealthily take it or openly take
Oh no, because I'm letting the party know that this is all Belly's fault.
it? Okay, so
I'm
we would share with the
misfortunate, it's his
audience. We'll switch to here in a moment so you can do the dialogue. But that's your
Okay.
plan. Okay.
Yes.
By the way, nice little parallel to Moisha there a little bit, huh? Some of the stories.
Yes.
There.
Well, and I
This
was
is some of the stuff
thinking,
Moisha has said. Is like this adventure thing's not quite all it was cracked up to be.
Moisha should be played by Woody Allen. Just saying.
She wanted a little more curmudgeonly than less East Coast neurotic.
Okay, Woody Allen now, because he's
Yeah,
old.
that's- Yeah, but he's just too quickly. He's just
Well, we give him some magic brownies and stuff.
sleeper, the orb. All right, so yes, so one of the party, you heard the bones snapped and crackled up in the trees somewhere, dead, and the others, nearly strangled to death. Managed to all get back in the boat. So who was conscious? Poppy and Caranthir and Trotter. And so Belly and
Baron.
Baron laying there unconscious in the boat. And the dog is whimpering up into, was barking, but now is making whimpering sounds and looking sadly up into the trees as your boat continues to just slowly drift in the muck, kind of diagonally. It's not even going straight at this point. So we'll start with Poppy.
Poppy goes over, and she's probably half the size of the dog.
Right.
But will do what she can to comfort the dog.
Okay. Dog leans into you, but is clearly distressed. Okay, and Trotter?
I stamp my foot in the boat and I say, that's it! I walk over to Belly and I'm digging through and I take the box and I set it over with my stuff.
What are you doing there, Trotter?
He's not to touch that thing again. Stupid dwarf, he's cursed us. Dwarven greed has cursed us. He wouldn't let the damn thing go, and now look, the bride's gone, eaten by the damn trees. He's not to touch it again. If he tries, I'm going to cut his hand off.
Okay, but you better be giving that to the,
Oh, I'm not going to keep it.
Okay.
I want to be rid of this damn thing.
Okay, that
But
works.
he's not to touch it ever again.
I don't disagree.
Gandalf warned me about dwarfs. They're greedy.
Question: how long is it going to take for my character to come to?
That's a good question.
Yeah, same question.
There are things
Um,
I'd like to do.
yes, I bet.
There's things I'd like to check on.
Yes, indeed.
I wish I hadn't thrown Belly overboard. It was satisfying, but God, he stinks.
That's right.
Forgotten that.
Head first. Yeah, you want to mention that little part of the story there? How that happened? The little hobbit tossed a dwarf.
The dwarf was being racist and rude beyond tolerance. And Poppy does not put up with any BS. So I was like, nope, that's enough. She put up with him for a while.
Although I think in this case it would be BS.
Yes. And then had enough, lifted his foot, and hurled him over the side of the boat into the putrid river.
Head first.
Head first, yes.
Yes. And that was back near the Dark River, right? The Rotten River.
Yes.
Yeah, which is extra nasty.
So I super stink.
Yes. And actually
My
not,
beard
not
is
feeling well,
probably all
actually.
awful. My poor beard.
You were, for a while, you were feeling very sleepy and out of it and hallucinating a
This,
little bit.
this nap.
Yeah.
This nap is probably well loved. This forced nap.
So, as the boat's slowly drifting, it is drifting through more of these. Now you can definitely identify the difference between the willow hangings and these gallows weed. So each of you is still conscious. Roll your search. Is anybody taking control of steering the boat, and who's rowing?
Do you want to?
'Cause your guide is unconscious.
I'll take the guide
Okay.
thing.
Everyone's conscious?
No, your guide is unconscious.
Oh, yes.
And that was normally who was steering the boat. The boat's been kind of going diagonally down the marsh.
That's a good one!
Gandalf and 7.
Gandalf and 5. Leave it to the hobbits.
So
we got
Gandalf
this.
means automatic success, so you guys will be going forward able to avoid getting strung up again. You know when to duck. Do you want to take a more proactive approach against the gallows weed, or just kind of avoid it?
Do you want to go anywhere near that stuff ever again? It's
Do you want to
nasty.
chop at it? Do you want to
Take
burn
a-
it? Do you want to?
Oh.
What do you want to do? Or just keep ducking every time you
Well,
see
once we
one?
get the boat straightened out,
Mm-hmm.
since she's guiding the boat, I'm going to wake these two up because I can't row this bloody thing myself.
Okay.
Well, you've got Corinthia.
She's just an elf. You sneeze at them, they'll snap in two. They're spindly.
Wrong kind of elf. That's D&D elves.
This
Well,
elf
not
is
fifth
actually
edition.
Well, I mean, we seem to be going with this theme,
Yeah.
so I'm going to pick on the elves now. I'm going
Okay.
to go with the dwarves.
All right. All right.
not going to say what I want to say.
I know, I'm nothing but trouble. I'm sorry.
So, you're trying to wake them? What's
Mhm.
your healing?
Ooh, probably nothing.
It's under common skills.
I can try healing them if you want to guide the boat.
That would probably be a better idea. I would probably do more harm than good at this point.
So what's your awareness?
That's 2N.
Okay.
Oh, butter.
What'd you do?
I got a total of 3.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
On
fine.
3 dice.
Alright, okay. That way! No, this way! Anyway, alright, you're gonna try to rouse them.
That's right, Harold.
So,
Don't think much.
belly first.
5 and 6. 11 with a great success. And Baron first.
Not enough.
Okay.
You can try one of the other ones. You can try 1 per hour.
Okay.
And remember, by now it was getting near twilight, as you guys had gone through repeatedly.
So, can I try belly now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, remember to declare who it is before you roll.
Right. I did. You told me it was belly.
Oh, I
but
didn't
I was
hear-
going for Baron.
Right, but I didn't hear you declare
Oh,
Baron.
I didn't know that you didn't hear me.
Sorry.
10, 16.
God, wait.
Okay, that is sufficient to awaken Belly.
All right.
Belly, we need you to guide the boat.
Let me see how aware I am.
Go ahead.
So that would be 8. So would I notice anything's missing or anything like that?
Not yet. You're still in a daze, and so you just kind of stumble up to the boat. Now, I forget which was the primary skill for the guide.
The guide was.
Yeah.
wasn't
Let's
it-
see.
it
Somewhere.
was you were the guide. What was the
No.
primary
Or
skill?
no.
Oh,
Belly was the guide.
Yeah, I think it's.
That was why he wasn't rowing.
I thought it was awareness.
Well, no, obviously not with that low an awareness.
Oh, no.
That's why I'm.
Because it would be Explorer.
And I'm-
Yeah.
Explorers too.
Is that not summarized on here? I thought they had the rolls.
Is it travel? Because travel's 3.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's travel.
that makes more sense.
Call it travel. I can't remember right now. That would be a good thing to have on here.
Gandalf plus 12.
Okay, good. Well, you guys are rolling out the Gandalf runes big time.
To make
All right.
up for all the Sauron eyes.
Yeah, so you figure out that he got you guys steering. You were starting to head northeast.
Oh, so the exact opposite of where we're
The
going.
exact opposite of where you wanted to go for a little while. Had you going exactly the opposite direction. Again, the marsh is so slow that you didn't really notice the upstream current that much. And yeah, so I mean, he wasn't doing it for that long, maybe 20 minutes, so it wasn't that much of a setback. But you watch as Belly turns the boat around 180 degrees, and you're like, okay. Now, as you kind of come out of your fog, you do a head count, and you see a very sad dog.
Where's the rod?
The gallows we've got. I was able to save you and Baron and Karen's dinner, but I couldn't save.
Poor lass. Poor puppy. I just like
Okay.
scratch.
Whimpers sadly. All right. Now
It's your
remember.
fault, you know.
Ooh.
You and your cursed little box. I told you to leave it be. And now we're one short. I hope you're happy.
Ooh.
And another thing. It's over here. Don't touch it. You and your cursed dwarf greed. You cursed us. Don't
Now
touch it.
again,
Flip him out of the boat.
little tiny hobbit doing this to the stout dwarf.
Flip him out of the boat.
Uh-oh, you set a bad precedent here for heroes. Really, so you're gonna do
It's
that.
cool off.
He needs to cool off. He's really upset.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can't talk
You
to
deserve
someone yelling at you.
You deserve it.
All right,
So
so
is
it goes to
athletics versus
athletics versus athletics.
I'm probably gonna.
Because we don't want to get into a full combat thing with you guys.
I'm not trying to do a full combat. I'm just trying to cool
What'd you get?
off.
I got 12.
11.
So The dwarf goes to grab the hobbit and clearly is intending to throw him out of the boat, but can't quite get. He's squirrely and wiggly and
Knock
can't
that off.
quite get it.
Knock that off.
Yeah, they're roughhousing. They're fighting like two little
Valley,
children.
calm yourself.
Keep insulting me.
Now another hobbit
And
chewing out the dwarf.
That wasn't a matter of insulting you. That was a matter of telling it like it is.
If you'd listened to me at the beginning, this wouldn't have happened.
there's a dwarven box.
See the party cohesion going.
And we will
Yeah.
take care of it.
And
So
what
now
happens
that
every
you're
time a dwarf
aware-
sees a shiny thing, war starts, people die.
Come on, calm down.
So now that
We've
you're
got a
aware
job
of
to
what
do.
happened,
Mm-hmm.
add 2 shadow points.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was your fellowship focus, right?
That was
the
my
book?
fellowship.
Oh, that was yours. Never mind. Sorry.
I've already added
Everybody who is aware, though, add 1 shadow point. You're going to add 2 when you're aware.
Well, I already added it.
Everybody who's aware of this loss,
Okay.
go ahead and add 1 shadow point.
Okay.
Really, what I'm supposed to be doing is handing out. Where's the box?
The chips.
Right there.
The weed rat cookies.
You want me to hand it out for you?
Oh, there it is.
I'll hand them to you to hand out. Thank you.
Okay.
Because I forgot to do that for all of this.
I'd normally try and dodge using my hope, but I'm so mad I don't think I'm feeling very hopeful right now, so I'm just going to...
All right, how many shadow points do you have, Baron?
I have.
Baron.
Oh, I have 2, but when I come to and realize, I'll be up to 4.
Okay, well, I'll give you those 2 when it's time. How many do you have, Belly?
2.
Okay. How many do you have, Puppy? 3? How many do you have there?
This moves me up to
Trotter?
2 right now.
Now, you know, Trotter was an early name that Tolkien used when he was trying to figure out either Bilbo or Frodo or something. He changed names a few times.
Can we spend hope points to get rid of shadow points?
When you get to a safe haven,
Okay.
that's when you do it. So that's in
Okay.
the fellowship
The end,
phase. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can
But
tell a
during the
story to help
adventure, no.
everybody lose some shadow points too, right?
During the
Yeah.
fellowship phase, yes. Okay, how many hope points do you have?
12.
Really?
Yeah, my starting score is
Well, it's
12.
going to have a lot of whites here. All right,
Yeah.
let's see. 2, 3, 12.
11.
So you should spend those a little bit more like candy. Just make sure you don't let the shadow points get above that. And a full group. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Interesting. All right, pass that
You might
down.
want to give me a different color.
17.
17.
Me too. Well, I used one before, so I've got 16 now.
Okay.
And we started off with a pool of 5.
Which
Should
we
we
have not
move this
used yet.
down to 4? Because that's the amount of people we have in the party?
Yes. Or no, I think it says starting each session, so
Yeah.
it's still 5.
Well,
But
Oh, this is a new session. Never mind. You're right. 4. Yeah, you're right.
Even
but
though
isn't Panther still with us?
Yeah, Panther's still with us.
Each
the bride isn't. And
player-
we never added one when she came.
Each player hero, not NPC.
4. We got
Okay.
I'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's players, not NPCs.
Okay.
Excuse me.
please. Should have just set them on the table. It would have been easier.
Actually, there is enough. I've still got almost an entire row left. So that works.
Oh, shoot.
What?
Well, I think we were wondering this before. I was just wondering if keen-eyed would have helped my awareness any. It's a distinctive feature, not a special.
Okay.
So
So that would definitely be something to look up.
The book is no longer on the table.
Sure. And actually, I've been having to use it. It's been so long since I ran tour, I don't have all the nice little printouts, but each of you should have, even though it's slightly outdated, each of you should have a copy of the Adventurer's Book. So you can look up your various abilities. We didn't have time last time, but this time hopefully. Where's my other? I should have 2 of these. Oh.
Is it in the box?
Slipcases, I should have 2 of them.
Is it in the box in the bus?
I don't Oh, that's all right. I have photocopies.
You can share this one.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've got one more.
And I do want to apologize to everybody. I'm trying to stick with an accent, but I haven't been practicing
Well,
accents
you
like
two
this,
can
so
each have
That's
one.
pretty
I probably sound like rubbish. I keep slipping.
No,
back and forth.
you
you're
sound
fine.
really
Don't
good.
worry about that. I was only saying church lady because of the little phrases you use, not because of your accent.
Yeah, no. I just.
Because you went, mischief.
good.
And it's like, what are you up to? A
Oh,
little
yeah.
mischief? It was just very church lady. And it was Mike Meyer. Or no, that was Dana Carter. right?
Sauron.
Exactly. And the way you did it was very, and you did it last time too, it was very church lady. The rest of it was not church lady. The rest of it was not. I thought it was awesome. It was very, I thought it was great. Keep doing what you're doing for your character. It
The
fits.
church hobbit.
So
Yes.
I'm gonna message Dan. So that's why just to see if he's got me in the plane.
Well, I would hope so. He's coming from Brazil.
Exactly.
If he's not already in the air, there's a problem. I can check my email. He's been pretty good about communicating.
Okay, I was just wondering. 'Cause, yeah.
Yeah. He gave me his flight itinerary and everything, and then would let me know if there was a delay if he could. And it's certainly something I can
We
look
can
up.
check that after the game.
Yes.
I was just
You're
gonna
right.
say why I was using
Yeah,
the
don't-
device.
yeah,
I was
don't
gonna do
sign-
it so that way it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
But let's not.
distracting, that was
Yeah,
just-
we can worry about that later. Okay. So. So now you're guiding through. You're now aware of the gallows weed. You know how to avoid it. Actually, you two need to roll your awareness as well.
You're not.
I'm
awake.
still unconscious.
Oh, sorry. You need to. Clearly, I'm only semi-conscious right now.
Food hasn't kicked in yet. I got 12.
Well, no, lack of sleep.
Could we request that Canther tries to revive him?
Yes, definitely.
Well.
Okay, that's just enough to
Okay.
avoid getting
Avoid,
strung
yeah.
up again.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they're helping me be.
Panther has one rank in.
Not with your attitude.
So that we don't get down. Are you wanting me to go up in the tree?
Thinking about it.
All right, you come to. Panther helped revive you. You hear the just. Remember, everything's dead silent, no sound of insects or animals, and just a little splish of the row of the oars going in and out of the water. The breathing of your compatriots, the occasional whine of the dog.
I open my eyes and I'm letting them focus.
Okay. Caranther goes back to helping row.
I start looking around and I pull, check my neck to see if there's any vines.
Baron. Baron, how are you?
How is everyone?
Your
We
neck
lost
is
the
killing
bride.
you.
Most bloody bride. This adventure is terrible.
Where are we?
We're still amongst the gallows weed, making our way.
Where is she?
She's long behind us. She was taken by the weed. I tried to save her, but I couldn't.
I tried too. I couldn't hit it. I couldn't hit the vine enough. I tried so hard. We couldn't save her.
They snuck up on me. Show me what these vile plants look like.
Point them out.
Can you roll your awareness?
Okay. $17.
Okay. You see them clearly, and you'll be able to avoid them.
How far is the tree?
It's been more than an hour,
It's
And a half,
long out,
so
it's long
miles
out of
back,
sight.
yeah.
We can't go back.
and it's getting near dusk, so it's getting really dark. You guys are gonna need a light source. Maybe have a torch or a lantern.
I immediately start looking for a place to camp.
Okay, you guys already rolled all of that.
I have a hood
before
and oil
last
lighter.
session. Good. So
I have 4 torches.
you're gonna need to light. It's getting really dark and hard to see.
So I'll light a torch.
Okay.
So as a note, the only thing it says about Keyline is your eyesight surpasses that of most folk.
Okay. So you'll see stuff that others don't see.
Yeah.
I have that too.
And nimble. So part of being a hobbit.
And true-hearted, you are sincere, and your words and actions show your honest intentions.
I think we've been doing
So
that.
we can
for
trust-
Also, hobbits are more resistant to corruption, just by their good-naturedness.
Oh,
So.
by the way, my other two.
Oh yes.
Boy, talk about true-hearted there, Dan.
And
Asking for your shadow points, you get full credit.
folklore apparently helps lore, but it doesn't specifically say how. Like, if you're...
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I would say, so as a lore master, or I would even say what your character might know if you as a player know enough about the setting. But I might tell you, oh, your character knows this. You know, as it'll say this in the adventure. If somebody has lore, folklore, they would have this extra piece of info, like we did in the first session. There were tidbits each of you got because of your different backgrounds. So yeah, not everything has to be rolled for. It's just having.
No, I just let you know what the rule
Good.
said, so now
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know for the future.
Oh yes. Thank you.
I have fire making. Means I get to do it probably.
So what do you do?
Yeah, if it's
We
your
have
special,
to-
you
that's
can
what
just
I remember.
automatically do it.
Not yet.
So.
Yeah, so I can light your
Okay.
lanterns for you without a
Like
struggle.
Okay.
Yeah, or
He's contemplating.
Okay.
He's
reluctantly.
stewing. He is
I'm also apparently really good at using power.
sharpening his axe.
Okay.
Yeah, smoking herbal.
Who is a lookout? Okay, and who's
Character
a
and I were lookouts.
okay, and who's a huntsman?
I'm a huntsman.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know
So
You're the guy.
guide. I'm gonna put that on here.
you three roll hunting.
No, you're the lookout. I'm the guide. Or I mean, I'm the scout.
I misunderstood which 3 he was talking about. My fault.
18.
Okay.
So who was
If you are either a lookout or a huntsman,
okay? Lookout or huntsman?
Your movements are
You roll
sharp and
hunting.
agile.
Thank you. Okay, so you as the lookout do need to roll.
And what am I rolling? Hunting?
yes.
Oh, that's.
And by the way, at what point does the hollow ones not count?
When you become miserable,
When do I become miserable?
we'll talk about that in a little bit. What'd you get? Sour and I? Excellent. I was kind of ignoring those before, but now in the second part. No. Although this adventure, it can be a TPK definitely.
Oh yeah.
This last third especially.
Well, there's something very similar.
I will say I do enjoy the challenge rating of this better because I swear D&D almost seems too easy now.
Yes,
And-
5th edition does. 5th edition is too easy.
This kind of sets it. There's a lot more tension there, and I
Yeah.
think that makes it fun. So
I agree.
throwing that in.
Yep. You start noticing as you're floating through, by torchlight, you seem to be the only one who notices that the tree branches here and there between. You seem to have left the gallows weed as far as you can tell. You're keeping your eyes open because every now and then you'll see one. But on the tree branches here and there, you see long rows side by side of little black beady eyes looking down at you. And slowly you realize you're being watched by hundreds of crows. Many murders.
How many is a murder? Can you remind me?
A flock.
It's not a set.
It's a
Several.
full. It's
Yeah.
It's many. A murder of crows is just the plurality of
Yeah.
crows.
Like a flock of seagulls.
I
Things
start
like that. It's not a set
lighting up
number.
more torches.
Do you have torches?
Yeah, but a flock of seagulls is more like a bard group.
We have 2 torches going on right now.
How many torches?
You're welcome.
And I have a total.
Well, right now
of
you're
4,
counting crows. Did you miss that?
I did.
He said, "I said a flock of seagulls is more like a bard group," and I said, "Yeah, but right now you're counting crows."
Nice.
That was
Can
a
I have
good
the
one.
hair?
That was a good one. I say so myself.
So
Alright.
it's rather appropriate
Dan.
you bring up them because, you know,
We have
I
two torches lit.
Sorry.
I have 2 more torches you can ask for if you need them.
I think we're all going to be needing.
Each torch lasts, I think, about an hour or so.
But you'll need to, let me know what you're seeing.
By a murder crows.
More torches. Here, Billy.
Maybe we should
I
paddle
like it as
faster.
a pass.
Yeah.
Paddling faster means greater chance of running.
Oh
in-
wait, it's the middle of the night. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's dusk, but it's
It might
so
as
dark
well
under
be.
the trees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going faster means greater risk of getting the boat stuck again. Remember what it's like when the boat gets stuck? Everybody has to jump in the water and pull it off.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just start shooting crows.
No.
No,
Camping?
you need those arrows.
And
So none of you
crows are
see
vicious.
them. He just keeps looking around. None of you can see them.
Maybe.
You're
we
lighting
make
other
a-
torches?
Even
So
though we're
I'm-
double-eyed? Or keen-eyed?
As you light more torches, you start
Okay.
seeing their beady eyes.
So
But
I
at first,
probably
you
We've
don't see
was
them.
got
not-
4
Yes,
torches, 1 near each person.
Oh, okay. Then you start seeing them, and yes, there are hundreds of them. And they're
We do
all
not want
watching
anger
you
the crows.
silently, not a single sound. They're clearly awake and watching you as you float through.
Never mind. Nothing to see here.
Um,
We're just
I
passing
pulled
through.
my cloak up,
We are not the adventurers you're looking for.
Yes.
and kind of like shrink into the boat.
Okay.
While still rowing, just
No, you're the guide. You're not rowing.
Oh, not rowing. I'm
You're
still.
steering.
I'm steering. I'm at the front. I pulled my cloak up.
Then, as you're floating
Keeping.
along, you see some more of these, and then a couple of them look at you and start going, "Rah! Rah!" as you float on a little more. "Rah!
We're just passing through. We'll
Rah!
let you know.
Rah! 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 Rah!" More of them are crowing.
Oh, got an idea.
Yes.
I'm gonna blind the crows.
Okay.
I open the box and have the jewel reflect the torchlight.
Okay. You open the box. The light just beams out everywhere.
Especially being magnified by all the torches we have out.
One of the
crap.
crows and then another and another and another silently starts swooping down right at you.
Close the box.
Roll your athletics.
Now see what you did.
I didn't kill anybody yet. Shut up. 8.
Okay, roll your awareness. That's what it says to roll.
8.
All right.
Not eight.
7.
The third crow, before you can shut the box, snatches the necklace, the jewel away, and flies away. That
Can I not jump at it as he's
take a
flying
jump.
away?
Do an athletics check.
Totally gonna
I'm
jump
doing
too.
that as well.
All right. You're all three.
I would have
in
madness.
fact-
Okay. Well, she declared first, so let Poppy go for it first. It was a great idea, except that was exactly what they were hoping you would do in this book.
23 with a great success.
I'm new to this adventure.
That's okay.
And
Exactly.
In fact, the minute I saw him, I'm not only am I just trying, I'm trying to use my bulk to just jump over him. And
Okay. Roll your athletics.
Didn't I get it? at
You'll find
23?
out in a second because everybody jumped at once.
Oh, okay.
So we'll
Oh, I
see
thought
what
it was-
happens.
Okay.
No, because they all declared.
11.
Okay,
I would have had to, though. I have.
it's fine.
10 with a success.
Okay, no Sauron eyes.
No ceremonies.
Okay, that's good. Because I would have had that basically completely fumble everybody, right? So defeating your success
Right.
through their fumbling.
With that.
Okay, good. So you managed to grab one of the wings of one of the crows and bring it down, flopping into the boat as it protests and fights and pecks at your hand, still clutching the stone tightly. A couple more crows start coming down, swooping down on you specifically. You also were able, once it was down here, you missed the first grab, but now able to grab the other wing and kind of, the two of you kind of pulling the wing apart so that it can't bite you anymore.
With one hand?
What's that?
With one hand.
Yeah.
The other hand, I'm taking that dagger and killing it.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Can I shoot one of the incoming
Roll.
ones?
What's that?
Can I shoot one of the incoming ones?
We're all going to die.
Well, hang on. So roll with your what, dagger?
Yeah.
Is that your weapon?
Dagger.
I've got
Okay, so how many ranks do you have in dagger?
1.
Or
So
since
that's a
I'm
feat
jumping.
die plus 1d6. Now this is a lower target number because you've got it, held.
So bad.
12.
Okay. Yep, you drive it through its body, and expires. What are you
Okay,
doing?
no, I was jumping into it too. So
Well, you missed though. You completely didn't
Okay,
make
can
it.
I throw? Okay. Never
So,
Well, I was trying to shoot one of the incoming ones to protect Poppy.
okay. So you shoot one of the incoming ones. You try to shoot one of the incoming ones.
What is that? 19 with a great success.
Wow, that's a pretty good shot. All right, you skewer one right through the body, flunks into the boat.
Be gone, you foul beasties!
Now about 50 crows launch off of the tree branches and come diving at you. Whereas before they were silent, they're all now coming at you very aggressively. The dog is barking like crazy. Karen Thayer is whipping out his spear, trying to, skewer. Let's see, he gets 2 of them. He skewers a crow on a spear out of 50. Poppy. The gem is still in the clutches of the dead crow.
I take the gem and put it in the box and put the box under
Okay.
something.
Roll another awareness check as crows try to snatch the gem from you. They all seem to be targeting whoever has the gem.
Oh,
5, 13.
Okay. So you're able to hold on to the gem, but you don't successfully ward off several attacks from the crows.
Would I be able to use a hope point to use my body to shield her so that she can get it into the box?
I don't think it quite works that way. So the way a hope point works is if you fail at something, so you might not remember this from last Thursday. If you fail at something, then you can add the attribute to your roll to make it a success.
Well,
So,
then
for
can
example-
I spend a hope point to get the gem?
What did you roll?
13?
Well, you held on to the gem, you just didn't manage to ward away the crows. So you want to spend a hope point to not get skewered by 3 crows?
Yes.
Beaked, yeah. That is what is your
Valor?
it's under it's body.
Body. Owner's body.
It's attribute above the skills.
Body is 4 unless it's favored, and that's 7.
Then that won't be high enough to
Okay.
prevent them from doing that to you.
Okay.
So you might as well save the hope point.
Okay.
That's actually what I was trying to do for her.
Yeah.
Body the crows for her.
You can attack them to try to weaken the numbers, but these 3 have successfully are successfully attacking Poppy. Now, it's been a while since I did the full combat system on this, and I need to remember what. Yeah, because they're tough to hit. Let's see here.
So Poppy will curl into a ball around the gem.
Okay.
That's where my failed leap will come into play, hopefully, because I'm leaping at I was leaping at you anyways. So.
Well, I'm trying because you only take 1.
Mad off the crap out of everything.
Okay, so each crow delivers 1. You lose 1 endurance from each crow, so 3 hits, 3 endurance points. Now remember, if your fatigue gets above your endurance, that has a factor.
And now my fatigue is
Equal to or greater.
17, and my endurance is 13.
Okay, so fatigue determines when the weight and bulk of the equipment normally carried by a hero starts to affect their performance. Character's fatigue threshold is first check, blah blah blah.
Well, that
Lose-
doesn't make any sense because I'm not carrying anything, am I? Oh,
You
I
have
guess I-
armor, you have a helm,
Okay,
you have shield, anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
During play, player heroes lose endurance points to blows suffered in combat as the consequence of strenuous efforts and to other sources of physical harm. When, for any reason, the endurance score of a character drops to a level equal to or lower than their fatigue score, the hero is considered to be weary. So you put a little check mark in weary.
Okay.
And then apply the effects to the character, page 128. If a character's weary box was already checked, then losing endurance does not provoke additional effect. When a character's endurance score is reduced to 0 points, they're physically exhausted and fall unconscious. Remember, we saw that with the gallows weed and such. Lost endurance points are recovered swiftly if a hero is allowed to rest and feed, unless a hero is wounded or sick. Hope. You guys need to understand how hope works. Hope is a character's reserve of spiritual fortitude and positivity. A hopeful character can keep going when physically stronger heroes have already succumbed to despair. During play, a player hero spends hope to invoke attribute bonuses or to trigger the effect of several cultural virtues. Yes?
With hope points, when do you use the main body score or heart or wish? And when do you use favored?
Usually it'll tell me when sometimes it's favored is appropriate and sometimes when it's not. There's different circumstances.
Favored is basically advantage, right?
Kind of. You use the better score instead of the lesser score. It varies. Yeah. But did you hear that second part? So there's to invoke attribute bonuses, as we just talked about, or to trigger the effect of several cultural virtues. Okay. So if you have a cultural virtue, you can also spend hope to invoke that, which can be helpful.
Are those the same as cultural blessings?
I believe so. Advantage at night, underground, and when in woods. I think so. I believe so.
No.
I don't know what else it would be, so I believe so.
Courtesy roll and apologize and make them go away.
There's something to be said for that with crows. Shadow points reflect the marks left on a character when their spirit is tainted by doubt and despair. You start at 0. Spending hope, because you guys need to know this now. During play, a player hero spends hope to invoke attribute bonuses or to trigger the effects of several cultural virtues. When the hope score of a hero decreases to reach their shadow rating, the hero is considered to be miserable. Check the miserable box on the character sheet and apply the effects to the character. If the character's miserable box was already checked, then losing hope doesn't provoke any additional effect. Note that a character who has a shadow rating of 0 does not become miserable when their hope is reduced to 0. Right, because you have no shadow points. So just using up all your hope doesn't cause any problems. If a character finds their hope score reduced to 0 points, they're spiritually spent. A hopeless hero cannot bear to continue a struggle of any sort and will flee from any source of danger or stress by escaping from the field of battle, for example, or storming out on a debate. Heroes may recover hope during a game session spending fellowship points, so that's those blue ones there, and possibly through their fellowship focus, if things go well. Yes?
With respect to fellowship points?
Yes.
We are both hobbits with hobbit sense.
Yes.
Which increases our fellowship points
Pool?
by 1 each.
Oh, good. So you get 2 more in the pool. Excellent. See, hobbits are very good for the group.
So speaking of fellowship points, would it be possible for us to use a fellowship point and convince these crows that we are much more dangerous than we appear, and make them fly away in fear?
Usually, fellowship points are to rebuff expend hope points. I understand. You can try. I'd love your character might
try.
No, go ahead and have your character try this and see what happens. Right when it's time. Wait for me to finish going through this. But when it's time, feel free to have your character try this because your character might go, "Please, I'm really sorry. Please forgive me." I think that's hilarious, appropriate. Hilaire appropriate.
It worked with the elves.
Yeah. States of health, weary. So if you get weary, because that's what Poppy's at. A hero becomes weary when their current endurance score is equal to or lower than their fatigue rating. Other sources of harm may make a hero temporarily weary, even if their endurance is still above fatigue rating. As long as a hero is weary, all the success dice they roll for any test that has a 1, 2, or 3, so the hollow numbers, considered to be a 0. Doesn't count. When a character is made weary through the loss of endurance, check the weary box in the character sheet with an X. When this is the case, the hero suffers the consequences of being weary until properly rested. Sources of strain other than the loss of endurance generally make a hero only temporarily weary, usually for as long as the source of strain lasts for the length of a combat encounter, for instance. When a character is temporarily weary, place a check mark in the weary box. So that's a little subtlety piece. So if you're Weary from loss of endurance, which is the case here, it's an X. If it's a temporary one, it's a check mark. When the temporary weariness passes, the mark is simply erased, and the heroes once again hail without the need for an extended rest. Exhaustion. When a character's endurance score drops to 0, they're exhausted, drops unconscious. Players whose characters are made unconscious due to loss of endurance should be careful to check the character's weary box too if they weren't weary already. Miserable. A hero is considered to be miserable when their hope score is equal to or lower than their shadow rating. Blah, 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 blah. As long as a hero is miserable, they are in danger of suffering a bout of madness and temporarily lose control of themselves. They pull a Boromir. When a character is rendered miserable through the loss of hope, the miserable box should have an X in it. When this happens, the hero is considered miserable until their hope score rises above their shadow rating once again. When this happens, the character is immediately restored. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Temporary loss could be the length of a combat encounter, for example. If it's a temporary one, put a check mark. So we get the point there. Spent heroes. If the character's hope score is reduced to 0, the adventurer is spiritually drained. Spent hero cannot bear themselves to struggle of any sort and will flee, etc. Wounded. A wounded character is received. So that's if they get a really... So you'll notice on your... there, you'll see on your weapons, you've got damage, edge, injury, and encumbrance, right? Damage, edge, injury, enc.
Mm-hmm.
So the damage is what the endurance that you take away when you hit that with that weapon. Edge is what let's see. I've got it again jumbled in my head. One of them is if you roll above a certain amount with your feat die, then you do a wound, and then the injury is how much the wound does, if I remember correctly. But I could be munging that. So just keep that in mind, though. Watch your feat die when you do an attack, and what is your edge number with your bow, for example, Trotter?
With my bow?
Yeah.
I get 2.
Yeah. What's your edge?
It's not filled out for him.
None of your weapons are filled out.
Just mine.
Ew.
My edge with my bow is 10.
Okay, so probably about the same.
Yeah. I remember damage.
Let's quickly do that because I guess because of the basic rules, they won't worry about it, but it can make a big difference in your survival. Gear, war gear, 119. Surprised that's not filled out in the character sheets. Huh. I do have to say, AiMe with Eves of Mirkwood is a better introduction than Marsh Bell. It's much more polished for beginning adventure. TOR's Marsh Bell intro needs some work. Okay, no, that's not giving me the equipment list. Oh, here we go. Okay, there's armor, shields, weapons. All right. Dan, what weapons do you have? Dagger?
I have a dagger.
Damage 3. Edge is a Gandalf rune, so just draw the Gandalf rune. Injury is 12. Encumbrance is 0. Okay, so damage is the harm in endurance inflicted on the target with each successful attack. It's modified by a character's damage bonus when the attack roll produces a great or extraordinary result. Okay, so edge. On a successful roll, the feat die result is compared to the edge rating of the weapon. If the result matches or overcomes that number, the roll inflicts a piercing blow, and the target must make a protection roll to avoid being wounded. Okay, so that's edge. Injury. This is the target number for a character's protection roll to avoid being wounded when they are hit by a piercing blow, so to try to parry the piercing blow. See, it's good I looked it up because I didn't remember that. Parry modifiers is the bonuses the bonuses shield gives to defender's parry rating. Protection is the bonus when a defender rolls for a protection test. Armor adds 1 or more additional dice, while headgear adds a numerical bonus. Thrown away ranged weapons. Spears and bows are ranged weapons capable of striking the enemy from distance. And then they got the table there.
I also have a spear and an axe.
Okay, so spear, damage 5, edge 9. So if your feat died as a 9 or higher, they have to protect against a piercing blow or become wounded.
Okay.
Injury 14. So that's what you roll to protect yourself from a piercing blow. That's a protection check. Encumbrance 2. What was the third one?
Axe.
And your axe. Great axe or axe?
You did.
Just axe.
Damage 5.
Actually, it says axes.
That means it's
Wait, I
plural.
have a great axe.
Okay, great axe. Damage 9.
I did.
Okay, guys. So for the broadcasters, keep in mind that side chatter makes it really hard for people to hear when we're sharing stuff. So if you are going to talk, be really quiet because the microphones otherwise. For you guys, it's fine, but for the audience, it's all background noise. So, all right. Edge is Gandalf rune. Injury is 20. Encumbrance is 4. So it's really hard to parry with a great axe.
Okay.
All right. Belly. What weapons?
Mattock?
A Matic. Damage 8. Edge 10. Injury 18. Encumbrance 3. And it's two-handed weapon.
Okay.
What else?
And then I have a short sword.
Short sword. Damage 5. Edge 10. If anybody else has the same weapon, it'd be good to follow along. Injury 14. Encumbrance 1.
And then the dagger I already got from.
Okay, good. Poppy, you already have all of yours?
Yep.
Okay. Trotter.
Did I miss bow and short sword?
Short sword you missed. Damage 5. Edge 10. Injury 14. Encumbrance 1. And bow, you have a regular bow or a great bow? I'm assuming regular bow because you're a hobbit.
Bow.
So damage 5. Edge 10. Injury 14.
My injury is 16.
Because you're tough.
Your, hang on, encumbrance 1. Is yours a great bow?
Oh, is it?
Is yours
No,
7, 10,
Mine is
16?
Bow of the North Downs.
Oh, so you have a special bow. Yeah.
Do they have those stats for torches?
No, but you would treat that as a club, basically, if you had
Okay.
tact with it. And I don't see club listed in this book. It's probably in one of the expansions. So, now you guys understand how that works with the damage. We'll get to play through it a little bit more later. But
What does Edge do again?
Edge is if you roll on when you do your attack,
Mm-hmm.
you have your feat die plus your ranks, right? Your success dice are the 6-sided dice.
Mm-hmm.
If your feat die is equal to your edge or higher, then the person you attacked has to make a protection roll, or they get wounded.
So, if I have Gandalf, it's harder to wound them.
Well, you can only wound them on an edge,
Okay.
on a Gandalf rune. Sorry. So the dagger can only wound on a Gandalf rune. So when you have to roll a Gandalf rune on the feat die to wound anybody with the dagger. But with your great axe, it's the same.
Yeah.
With your, what was your other weapon? Spear, you only need to roll a 9 or higher to wound them.
So it's easy. Basically,
Because it's a more flexible. You can, Great axe is kind of unwieldy. Does a lot of damage, 9 damage when you hit, but a little unwieldy. And then let's say somebody does do a wound, an edge success roll against you, then you got to roll the injury number for the weapon you have in hand to avoid being wounded, to parry it. And then either way you determine the damage, take away armor and such.
So it's easier to parry when you've got a lower number.
Correct. Yes, a lower injury means it's easier to parry. Yes, okay. And that makes because great axe is a 20. It's really hard to parry with a great axe.
But a dagger, I've got a 12.
Exactly. So, the One Ring role playing game is interesting in the nuance that it works into here. All right. Does that all help clarify a little bit there?
Yes.
I know I needed the refresh.
I have one more thing.
Yes.
One of my virtues is small folk.
Okay.
Which I think makes me harder to attack.
Oh, I think you're right.
And,
find that ruling.
I can use my favorite...
For the crows, that doesn't matter, but for other creatures, mention that.
I can make my favored wit score to
Okay.
be harder to attack.
Cool. Keep that in mind. For the crows, that's not an issue, but for other creatures coming up, remind me of that, because that will be important. All right. And I already told you guys what happens when you're wounded, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Back to... So you're dropping to the ground, doing fetal to protect the gem
Yes.
as the crows peck at you. All right.
So, since I was
Belly.
already in motion
Yes.
towards her,
Yes.
I am going to use that motion to stand directly over her, trying to put my cape as much over her as possible.
Okay.
And I'm going to use my Matic to hit crows.
All right, you're going to swing your mattock at crows. Go
Yep.
for it. So the dwarf starts to throw... You guys, you know what a mattock is, right?
Yeah, it's like a...
It's a pickaxe.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I have one over there, but...
I'm just going to wildly...
Go for it. Hey,
Like,
go
I'm
for
trying
it.
to be as emotional.
You bet.
Use it like a baseball bat.
Just-
I'm basically going to be intimidating.
Just don't Sauron eye.
I'm just...
Or it could
I'm
be
not
friendly
even trying to
fire.
hit them with the point.
All right,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
trying to hit them out of the
Go
air. Whoa, 666.
So
Oh no,
that's...
9. This is 9. 669.
Okay.
So I
With
use
two really big, great successes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that... So give me your total.
21.
Okay. And it's 21 and...
And 2 successes.
No, it's not 2 successes.
2 great successes. Great
It's an
successes.
extraordinary.
Extraordinary success.
Oh,
So you have success, great success, extraordinary success.
okay.
But there's only 2 of the things of these.
And
So
it was
this
not
is
great.
just meeting the number. Great
Right.
success is 1.
Yes.
Extraordinary
Right.
success is 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm an extraordinary success.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just trying
That
to...
makes more sense.
Because I know you came in late the
Yeah,
last session,
and
so...
I thought that was the extraordinary.
What?
The X.
That's a 4.
Frick.
The Gandalf rune?
Yeah.
Gandalf rune's... Oh, yes, so you missed
Okay.
all of this because you came in
Yeah,
late.
well, that does not look
Gandalf
like
rune is automatic success, but it's just a regular success. Gandalf rune means success, but it's... But it...
This is where funky fonts and dyslexia.
Sure. Oh yeah. No, that is a problem with funky fonts. I agree. At least I didn't get the fancy dice that have all the stuff all over it, because those are unreadable for a lot
I
of
don't know
people.
how
Well, people without dyslexia, it's not a problem. But
some people read them.
yeah. All right. So yeah, you skewer a crow right on your mattock. Just
I'm just yeah. I'm attacking
it's
them.
it's stuck
but I'm
on the
trying
tip
to
of
be
it now, and it.
Large and intimidating too. Well,
Okay. Who was?
We're kind of doing this.
Yeah. Well, you were ready to take a shot.
Well, I was actually going to try and use courtesy to...
Oh, that's right. You're gonna take courtesy. So
Yeah.
let me have him finish his action,
Sure,
then you'll do that.
sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, so from my crouching position,
Yep.
I'm gonna leave the dagger, grab one of the torches, and
Okay.
spin around.
Just start waving it around, or no?
I'm going to bellow a roar
Okay.
using my awe.
Your
There
okay.
you go.
I'm going to use a hope point
Okay.
to ignore my wariness because I'm furious, and that's a special cultural blessing I have.
Excellent. Okay. So that means your 1s, 2s, and 3s count again.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I just preemptly use another point to basically I'm using up everything.
No, it doesn't. So the good thing about this game is if you know your roll failed,
Mhm.
you can spend the hope to make it succeed.
Okay.
So if you fail it and you're like, you can calculate, like, okay, you don't always know what the target number is, but usually Lore Master will be pretty kind about this.
Mhm.
So let's say you know you need a 14, because that's pretty typical, and you roll a 10. Well, you know that one of your attributes, if you spend a hope point, will get you up to that 14. Then you spend it and then add it, and then it's taken care of. So it does let you modify it after the result, which is interesting. A lot of games don't do that.
And for all, I'm guessing
again,
my
I'm a little mixed
attribute
about
is body, which is 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if it's
Not wits for off.
oh no, yeah, no, it's body. It's under the category that's listed under.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right.
Yeah. Soren
Okay,
You
now
joke.
keep in mind there isn't the concept of a fumble in this game with the Sauron. That's kind of a house rule we've liked to do but it isn't technically part of the rules. That does not mean a fumble. It's basically a 0, and then it may trigger certain hazards or other things to happen. It's not technically a fumble. I like making it a fumble thing, especially when wielding big weapons and such. Now, in your case, you were doing with a torch and with an awe, so there's no real consequence. So you go to do the awe, and instead you go, "Rah!" Right? You're doing the "Rah!" Right to try to intimidate, and you get a mouthful of feathers as a crow kind of flies right past your mouth, and it throws off the effect entirely. You just get a big thing of feathers.
I chomp down.
Yeah, it happened too quickly, but so you went to go and you went and start hacking and coughing.
Okay.
No big harm done, but not what you desire. All right, Mr. Courtesy, before you roll, what is it you're hoping to do?
I'm going to try to convince them to go away, that we're just trying to pass through, and, giving them a friendly warning that if we don't get this to the Eagle King might get mad and come back after them.
Okay, so remember this before you roll, especially things like this. You want to declare your action first. This is standard for role-playing games, and people kind of forget and get excited and start rolling. So make sure we know what success looks like. Okay. When combat, it's pretty cut and dry, but for things like this, you need to define what success looks like, because that helps me set the target number that you need to exceed. This is going to be very, very hard to do.
I figured.
Not impossible, but very difficult. So you know it's going to be a high target number. So if you have any special cultural abilities to enhance it in any way, like he did with his, no, you don't have time for that. You're just basically pleading for mercy and warning them.
True-hearted?
That means you're not giving up in the face of all of this. So
But it means he's sincere too.
and he's sincere. Yes, that's true. You probably don't have something, but I'm just saying, keep that in mind. But go ahead, and then if it's too low, you can go and apply, a hope point and try to boost it.
Roll like me.
Don't roll like me.
And
Yes!
what'd you get?
I got a Gandalf and 8 more.
Man, and a what?
8 more.
Okay, well, it's automatic success. So, but no greater extraordinary.
No,
Okay,
no.
that's fine. So what that means is you've achieved what you sought to do, because you got a Gandalf rune, which is just about the only way. I mean, if you rolled really high, you could have pulled it off, but because that was a 20 target number. But you guys are totally different rolls today than Thursday.
I'm not seeing a difference.
As a group as a whole, though, before everybody was rolling very poorly. I'm sorry, Dan, you and I, we have those curses.
I'm not doing two. I'm doing like right on the fence like I normally do.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's not, but still, the group as a whole, though, is doing better. All right, so the crows start kind of backing off a little bit and kind of swooping back, and they're making still a lot of noise, but they actually stop attacking.
Guys, put your weapons away. I think it's working.
I switched for a torch.
Okay,
I'm chewing them.
you're chewing the feathers. It's choking you.
I'm not a happy person
Okay,
right now.
Poppy, you don't feel any more pecks on your back. You're covered in a cloak.
Yeah, you're covered in a cloak.
Stick my head out.
Turtle out.
Is it
Okay,
over?
you see the crows all around, and there's still a few swooping here and there, silently or noisily, but none of them are dive bombing.
Could I maybe sing a
As
song to
unseen
keep
as
them
possible.
By the way, your cloak is now covered in about 20 sets of droppings. Because
Yay.
crows are fun that way.
Yeah.
They don't like you. In fact, the whole boat has gotten covered in droppings.
So I'm until we get out.
You guys didn't really care about it during the combat, but now you're noticing, like, oh my goodness! Even the dog is covered in droppings.
Because I don't want to incite them
Okay.
with the sight of it.
All right. You take it over to him and put it back in the box under the cover of the cloak.
Maybe we just wait until we're out before
Yeah.
we move the gem.
Okay. When will that be?
Give me the box.
Trotter, bring me the box.
Okay. Kind of push
Get
the
it
box over under the seat or whatever
Under
we
my
happen to
cloak
have.
and
Okay.
stick it in.
I'm gonna stay directly. Did you hear someone?
I don't know. I would just there should be deliveries coming with the rest of the kit. But anyway, go ahead. And Katie's waiting for stuff too. It's birds. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
in the box under my
Roll
cloak.
your athletics. Who
Under
all's
my
involved
cloak.
with that?
No, it's not under your cloak.
I'm over top of you.
It was the
You're
cloak.
Over my cloak.
Oh, okay.
Over my cloak.
Okay. Roll your
You're probably
athletics.
the only
To-
one
This is basically just don't fumble it, basically.
Oh my
I'm
gosh, look
also-
at all that success.
Okay.
You're reeking with success.
26 with
It's just whoever's
2
handling
with
the gem.
extraordinary success.
All right, no problem. You smoothly slide it into the box, no more problem. Put it away. The crows are still cawing noisily, but they're not attacking you anymore.
So can I sing a song to calm them down?
You can try.
Okay. I just basically want to, with my song, assure them that we're not ever going to shoot at another crow ever again.
Hush, little crows, don't you cry.
Yes!
That's about as good
Gandalf
as it
with
gets.
2 extraordinary... 2...
Nice!
Best
Gandalf had
song
extraordinary
ever.
success. Yes, this is your best song ever. You were, maybe it was the adrenaline from what was going on before, the motivation. You know this is the best song you've ever put on. Go ahead and describe what this was like,
Sing
because this
for
is
us.
epic. This is something you're going to want to tell your grandkids about. And, you know, and I'll let you know the effect.
I was just trying to channel all the pain and frustration and let them know that we are trying to do good for all, not just for us, but for all. That this will make the world better, not just for us, but for crows, for their nestlings, for eggs to come. Will know that this was.
You have folklore, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, before you do that,
Oh. Oh, okay.
is folklore automatic or a roll?
It's
Automatic.
a distinctive feature.
Okay, so it's automatic.
Okay.
So you know from where you are in Mirkwood, which this is a blighted area.
Okay.
So you know that these crows are called gore crows,
Oh boy.
and that they are twisted by long years spent in the shadow of the mountains of Mirkwood, and that they are servitors of creatures of evil, and often, not always, but often. So they are not going to be inspired or encouraged to calm down by good stuff like that. They're going to be, you know, if you can at least take away their fear and worry, but what you were saying is not going to help. So,
They're gonna
What
have
if we
lots
solve-
of...
so
I
now
got it.
adjust the song. Okay.
Lots
I
of
got it.
jewels.
Hold
Let
on.
him, meta. Let him.
That this great deed will someday free them from their oppressors. They will be their own birds because of their greatness. They will join the ranks of the free races of Middle Earth and will someday rise above and be as grand as the eagles for their great deeds today.
And what language are you singing this in?
The black tongue.
I'm not really sure what languages I have available to me.
Yeah.
Probably just your normal language is fine.
Okay, yeah, so
I just
Common.
Okay.
common hobbit.
Yep. So you sing that. You guys are all like,
Crew World
you guys are all feeling pretty inspired by
Gandalf
the
taught me
energy of the
Just a
song.
tad bit.
And but the crows at first, who are cawing noisily and loudly as you continue along, get a little quieter. They stop floating down, and they seem to be listening. They seem to be leaning over as you get near and listening to the song. And you even see a few like bobbing their heads a little bit to whatever the internal metronome would be to this. But they eventually get all quiet, but they're moving in an interesting way, completely, you know, not like, because remember before they were totally still. Yeah, it looks like they're very much engaged in whatever it is. It is the best performance to date that you've ever done.
Don't stop singing.
Yeah. I sing basically until I'm hoarse.
Okay.
Until they're gone.
But you can sing, with a roll like that, you can sing for a long time.
All right.
All right, so you keep singing. I forget who was that found the camps when we re-rolled this last session. Was that you? Okay, so you eventually found, you saw coming through remember it gets misty as it gets
No,
darker.
wait, no, you. What the hell is it?
He's the lookout on the scout.
So
We
that would've
changed
been-
from last week.
that would've been-
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we were-
Yeah, I think you found it. Yeah, well, that week it was 2 days ago. It seems like a week. All right.
Feels like a week.
So you eventually come to an area where the water seems a lot deeper and darker. And eventually through the mists, you start to see ruins becoming more prominent. And it looks like it's a place where the main buildings of a town that has sunken in once rose up. You see at one point a great marble arch seen on a distant shore As you get closer, it looks like it's holding a massive wooden gate. The other walls of the building, as you get closer into the torchlight and such, are now crumbled into the mud. On the treetops are the gore crows, and they're listening silently to your singing. So that's what you see.
That looks depressing.
But it looks like, dry land, real dry land, as opposed to just marshy gunk that you've been around. Because remember, most of it's been like this, marshy gunk, where there's really not much of a pocket. This is a real, there used to be a town here, even though it's in ruins. So it looks like your best bet for a place to camp for the night. And it is after dark.
Let's camp for the night here.
So remember, we share behind the scenes here because those of you might be interested in learning to GM this. So you completely changed. So the gore crows are actually partially an alarm for some creatures that come up later. And you have subdued that alarm. Now, that being said, they had sent the Kine down the road a little bit, but you subdued it from being continued. So they did trigger, which means, it may have alerted the creatures or not. But if you had thought of that at the very beginning, when they started to get noisy, or even before, if you were worried about it, that would have kept the alarm from going off if you'd had that kind of success.
Well, I thought the bright light was going to blind them because there's
Yeah, and it specifically says if anybody shows the gemstone, they go for anything shiny, especially that.
I should have remembered the crows.
That's okay.
Shiny.
It's a sparkly.
Thank you,
The secret of
Nim.
Nim. So that's okay. There's a reason why it's in the book, because they probably had a lot of players do something very similar.
Oh, no, it's a great job.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
But anyway, your song did a great job subduing. So you guys are getting closer to the shore.
See, the Baggins family, they cause wars. I avert them. Remember that when you want a negotiator. Don't get the Baggins. They're dirty thieves.
Oh! That's the Sackville Bagginses, according to Bilbo. Because they kept stealing his silverware and
So
such.
Bilbo's got no room to talk about nothing. You've ruined the words.
You thief! Dirty, rotten thief!
It's the Baggins.
All right. So you come up to the shore, pull the boat well up onto the shore, and
I'm
so...
I'm trying to see if there's any nearby entrances.
Yep. So let me get my...
When we get the boat piece,
Doodly-doo.
if we have a bucket or something, I'm gonna try and clean up the boat. Because that's just gross. That's so nasty.
I'm going to definitely clean my beard.
So as you guys are kind of, trying to start getting settled here, within moments, everybody roll your awareness.
Oh, and I'd also like to take this moment to apologize. I shouldn't have opened the box. I'll never do it again.
16 with a great success.
Yeah, keep going around in order here, Dan.
Keep thinking the 4s are rolling.
That's what she...
When you
The
put
X,
it that
yeah,
way,
it looks like an
a
X.
table.
Yeah.
So I'm still wary.
Okay, so what did you get?
9.
Okay. Belly?
I got 16
With
Okay.
a great success.
with a great success.
Okay, good.
10 with a great success.
Okay.
Actually,
No, Gandalf room with a
Oh.
great success.
A little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 12.
Okay. The three of you, you're kind of busy doing your things, but you hear, it sounds, there's a faint, make a wisdom test, you three.
Since I'm unaware, I'm going to do the bathroom break.
So wisdom test is a feat die plus 1 or
But
2
you're not-
six-sided based on your wisdom. Based
What's
on
that?
your wisdom. Upper right hand corner, the 3 in the right hand corner is a wisdom or valor.
Okay.
So you take a feat die and then either 1 or 2 six-sided.
My wisdom is 5. How many?
Wow. So you get 5 six-sided.
Okay.
5 success
So
dice.
while they're doing that, my whole idea is if there's an entrance, I want to move the boat and our
Okay.
camp outside of immediate vision of Gandalf.
Yeah. I don't think they're like. I mean, there's the wooden door there, so that's the first place to go look. You haven't quite gotten there yet.
If I can see it, I
Okay.
want to basically be away from sight of that door. That's basically what I'm trying to
Well, it was right. See the archway? See how close the archway is?
do. Mm.
So there's not any way for it to be out of sight.
Okay, so I can't like move it around.
So this is all jutting out here.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole thing coming out, anywhere there, you would have to take it somewhere a long ways that way or that way to get it out of sight. You guys came up onto this shore.
Yeah, I'm trying to basically look for cover.
Yeah, they're. I mean, you'll do what you can, but it's not very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I need him to be back before I describe this. So what did you get for your wisdom?
26, an extraordinary success, and a Sauron eye.
So I think that's still
Success, but
because it's just a 0 unless it triggers, unless it says something here that Sauron Eye does something.
Yeah.
I think that's still technically a success.
complicated, extraordinary success.
That camera's not on, is it?
We haven't used that for a while.
Okay.
They turned it right. You guys think we were hitting too many cameras, right? It was maxing out, so it's unplugged right now.
Okay, I was just.
Yeah, it's not on right now. We're using that camera, and that camera, and then we have an overhead when we need it. Because that was the USB can only handle 4 cameras.
Okay.
All right.
I got a 15. No complications.
Okay, so Gandalf runes considered to be the highest result obtainable on the die. When the die comes up showing the rune, the action succeeds whether the total result of the roll was enough to match or beat the target number set for the total roll or not. The Sauron Eye is considered to be the lowest result possible in the feat die. Under most circumstances, when the feat die comes up showing the Sauron icon die counts as 0. Both special icons are used in the game to trigger additional effects, for example, when using weapons, or the character's unique abilities. In general terms, obtaining a Gandalf rune is in any one roll is always good, while the icon can potentially be very bad. So yeah, it just counts as a 0.
So 26
'Cause again,
with an extraordinary success.
They don't technically have a fumble. That's... I'm just making sure I'm not missing something. Okay. If you roll a Sauron Eye on a roll when you're miserable,
I'm not miserable.
I'm just letting you guys know this. This is one of the times that
Right.
it would be a factor. So normally it's just a 0, but if you're miserable, you suffer a bout of madness and temporarily lose control of your character.
Okay.
That's-
And that is Poppy's shadow weakness.
Feels like hair's
Is
burning.
wandering madness.
Yes, so just watch out for that.
Smelled like burning for a second.
Oh, it's my hand lotion.
It smells like fire? No, not that kind of fire. It was more like hair.
Oh.
That smells like a good campfire.
Okay, so
I was very confused.
campfire hand lotion perfume. How
Yeah.
odd. All right. So anyway, yeah. So that's still a success.
Bonus.
Yeah.
That's less likely to.
So you're able to resist what happens to the other two.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. What did you get on your wisdom roll?
I got a 15.
Total.
Mhm.
Okay. What did you get?
Yeah, because you're supposed to be rolling.
I got a 9 before. Was I supposed to roll again?
A feat die plus whatever your wisdom for success dice.
Oh. So. That's better.
Well, no, you
not
don't get to
quite.
re-roll. You just.
Oh, well, I got 9 before.
Oh, with the 2.
No. He got 9 on his original.
Oh, that was to
roll.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
well, I
that's
got
it.
13 this time.
With a great success.
Oh, wait, I can't add. That's 15.
You're
15 with a great success. Jeez.
Um.
Terrible.
Okay. The two of you gain a shadow point, and there's a dark pool. The two who failed. You didn't make it. So, Belly and Trotter. You gain a shadow point, and you fall into a daze and start walking towards a large pool of water.
Pass me the mic so I can have it.
Hey. Knock that off.
What?
Wait, don't go there.
No, you're not responsive. You two are not responsive. That's just Poppy trying to stop. They're not
Trotter,
responding.
What?
They seem to be in a daze. Nope, no response. They're just kind of like zombie walking, sleepwalking straight towards this pool of water.
Poppy will go and physically stand in front of Trotter and push him away.
Okay, roll your athletics. What do you do?
Do I notice?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Poppy, what are you doing?
13
Do I notice that they're obviously
with a great
dazed?
success.
They seem to be not responding to
I'm gonna
prompting.
go and pick up the dwarf.
Okay, so 13 with a great success, and I'll spend a hope point if that's not enough.
13?
Yeah,
Okay, and who are you trying to stop?
Trotter.
Okay, you easily stop Trotter, but he's just kind of standing there trying to push past you, and you're stopping him.
Athletics?
Okay.
14, but I'm going to use a hope point.
You don't need to. You need to wait until you know whether you succeed or fail before you spend your points. It's actually pretty easy. I know. It's a pretty easy thing. You successfully stop Belly from walking, although Belly's still trying to push past you, but you have stopped Belly in his tracks.
And I'm like...
Okay. Not responding.
Will
Poppy?
healing work?
You don't know?
Well,
You don't see any wounds.
Yeah, but he's clearly mentally ill. I'll try to see what I can do to heal him.
What's the feasibility of short-term cognitive behavioral therapy?
14.
Okay. You kind of pat him down and try kind words, and nothing seems to happen. He's still trying to push past you.
I've got 20 feet of rope. I'm gonna loop it around his, torso and arms, and drag him with me back to where we were setting up camp.
Okay. You easily do so. He still continues to resist.
He's gonna have a belly on a leash.
I'm checking. I'm checking his senses. Are his eyes fixed?
And dilated?
Yeah, they're looking towards the both of them. Their heads just keep swiveling to look at the pond of water. You guys now do hear a faint little doom.
I immediately block my ears.
Doom. Doom. Before you get to, you two both have to roll. You already rolled your wisdom check, so you're okay.
Yeah.
So you actually already heard the bell.
Okay.
That's not for whom the bell tolls.
Yeah.
But you have to make a check now. Wisdom.
You should set me up
Okay.
first.
So now you watch as he's like, what's that sound? And he swivels and stares at the pond of water and starts walking towards it, which then releases Belly. And the two of them now are starting to walk. So you've got him tied up, but you haven't moved him very far yet.
He was putting stuff in his ears.
Yeah, it was too late.
Yeah.
He started to, and he's like, So the two of them now are slowly sleepwalking towards the pool of water near the arch. Doom. Doom.
You've got a thing on a
Doom.
25-foot lead.
Yeah. I
Doom.
go chase after him and try and push him away.
Okay, who?
Whoever's closer to the pool.
Belly.
Okay.
No, me, because I was stopping him.
Okay, all right. Then Baron. Okay, go ahead.
Athletics.
Roll athletics. Yep. Two.
24.
Okay, not a problem. How would you like to hog tie him? Or what way would you like to tie him?
I presume that I'm not too far away from.
Sure, you're holding the end of the
Trotter,
rope
still
there.
holding
Sure.
the end of
Yeah.
the rope. So
Yeah,
it's
he's-
a 20-foot rope.
Okay.
So I tie Trotter onto one end
Okay.
and Baron on the other end.
Okay. All right. They're both tied on opposite ends. And meanwhile, Belly is now wading into the pool of dark, cold water.
Is there a tree I can wrap these two around?
There's old rotted trees all
Okay,
around.
so I wrap those guys around a tree
Okay.
with the rope,
All right.
and I go trying to get
Belly is
out
now
of the
waist
pool.
deep in the water. Okay. You go wading into the water.
Yeah.
Okay. As you wade in, you notice there appears to be. You just kind of catch in the torchlight of the torches that you stuck in the ground while you were doing all this. Looks like a little bit of an underwater opening leading underground. Just so you know, there's a little archway in the water there.
Okay, I don't want to go there.
No, but that seems to be where Belly's trying to get to.
Okay, I'm not going to go in front of Belly this time because I don't want him to push me into the
Okay.
opening, but I'm going to grab at him from behind.
Okay. Great.
6.
Oh,
no,
Poppy!
Oh wait, I didn't roll enough die.
Athletics?
Yeah, I have 4 and I only rolled
Oh,
3.
okay. We'll roll one more to add to that.
4.
10.
So that's 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Can I spend
That's
the whole point?
just enough to stop Belly, actually. It's actually
Okay.
not that hard to stop sleepwalkers.
Okay.
So you just stop him
And I
just a little past his belt line.
pull him backwards.
All right. You pull him in up out of the water, freezing cold,
So
unnaturally cold water.
I'm a bit tied off. I'm gonna try and shimmy out of the things.
You don't have enough awareness. All you do is just push against it.
Oh,
Okay. All right. You're doing the monster mash.
The thriller.
Oh, Thriller.
I
Okay.
almost spit this up my nose when you started doing it. I heard the tone and everything. I was like, oh dear Lord.
Okay. Karen Thayer is helping with the dog to keep these two from getting out of their restraints.
Okay.
And you bring Belly back to the other two.
Burns and some weird ritualistic acts.
He's a little tied up.
In the
Okay.
moment.
And does my folklore knowledge give me any advantage to know what the heck is going on?
This is not something your character is familiar with,
Okay.
so you don't know.
Karen Thayer, do you know anything about what's going on? How do we save them?
I don't know. They're under an enchantment, clearly, of some kind.
Yes.
What would be
How do
useful
you
to
snap
break
it?
an enchantment? Been lots of stories and songs. A song, perhaps. Songs have been known throughout legend to break enchantments.
Well, I can try to sing to them.
I'm already dancing.
Yeah. So I'll try singing.
What's your song?
2.
Okay, same as Karen Thayer's. Karen Thayer will join in with you.
Okay. Gandalf.
All right, much better than Karen Thayer. All right, so you start singing at them. What do you sing at them?
Soft kitty, warm kitty,
Little ball of fur.
happy kitty, sleepy kitty.
Purr, purr, purr.
I do the thriller to that.
Okay, remember you're trying to wake them up, not put them to sleep.
I wouldn't mind being put to sleep
I
right now.
love rock and roll. Put another dog in the jukebox, baby.
How about something a little more contemporary to 2946 Third Age Middle Earth?
I got nothing.
But maybe a rousing. So how about the brew the beer so brown in the Prancing Pony? I don't remember where it was,
Sure.
but yeah,
I sing that.
some tavern song. Okay. Oh, and I know the Cat and the Fiddle and the Silver Spoon ran over the moon with
Oh no!
There was-
The cat and the fiddle and the silver spoon.
I don't know
Little
that
boy
one.
blue and the man in the moon.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're doing a 60s 70s version. I'm trying to remember Tolkien's version.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
Tolkien well enough.
Greatest adventure.
Actually, I liked those, but anyway, so he starts singing the bar song.
Yes.
Okay, they start to what one by one look around, and yeah, they slowly come to.
Come to yourselves. Come to
But I
yourselves.
immediately cover my ears because that's the last thing I was going to do.
There's you were under some enchantment.
Huh?
You got to pay attention. Wake up. Listen to me. Get your fingers out of your ears. Okay. We can't camp here.
Okay.
We need to find someplace else.
Did I manage to get the boat cleaned at least a little?
Not really. No, you guys
Did I
managed to
get
get
anything
staked
out
and
of my
everything.
beard?
Barely.
There's something treacherous in that pool,
The tolling stops.
and I don't dare camp here. I almost lost all of you.
In that case, I say we get back into the boat and camp a little bit further away.
Absolutely.
But wait, are these all your tracks? Whose are these? Caranther points out.
I don't know, but I'm afraid
They
of
see some booted tracks going into the pool that are the tracks you've been following of the folks you've been trying to find.
How fresh are they?
them. Oh, crud.
They're days old, just like the other ones were.
Oh, crud.
Is
Looks
there
like they go
any
straight
coming
into
out
the
other
pool.
side?
Nope.
We need to rest.
You need to rest.
I need to rest.
Yes, okay.
I'm entirely too weary and exhausted.
So let me
Well,
let you know whether you can even get any rest in a blighted place. Rest might not do you actually any good in a blighted place. So we'll look that up for you. Resting. And sometimes you just have to tough things out till you get out of these blighted places. Are bad. In fact, sleeping in blighted places can be dangerous even. Okay. Getting better. Excuse me. Characters improve their health mainly by resting. A good night's sleep might successfully mend a hero's spirit as well as their body, but some injuries are so terrible that they require greater attention and care. Recovery. Fighters soon learn to fully exploit the briefest of pauses to recover their much-needed energies. A character who is not wounded and who is at the end of combat is given the time to catch their breath to rest for at least half an hour, recovers a number of endurance points equal to their heart score. So if you can rest for half an hour, which you haven't really had a chance to do, then you will get back the equivalent of your heart score in endurance points, up to your maximum. Can't go above your maximum.
Can I tell him an inspiring
By the way, reminder, Poppy, I don't know if you caught this last time. If your fatigue is like really high from encumbrance and such, you can drop a helmet or a shield because that, loads up your encumbrance and that can lower your encumbrance as far as, fatigue and such. Because they drop a few points for dropping each one. You can just drop them to the ground and that takes some of your burden off. So just something to be aware of. In this case, you could drop them in the boat or something. But a lot of times people in combat, when they get injured, they'll have to drop their shield or something to keep fighting. to not have certain penalties. A character who fell unconscious because of their endurance was reduced to 0 but wasn't wounded is allowed to recover normally and thus wakes up after a short rest. If a player hero's endurance score is not yet fully replenished after recovery, they will recuperate the remaining points at the normal rate for resting. Let's see, resting below. Treating wounds. A wounded character. Anybody wounded? No? Nobody's wounded. All right. Treating dying characters. Resting.
Weary? That's what we're
Yeah, we're getting there. Adventurers recover by resting regularly as they regain endurance points, shake off weariness, and see their injuries finally mend. Recover endurance. Player heroes recover a number of endurance points for every prolonged rest they enjoy every day, usually a night's sleep. The amount of points recovered depends on the current health of the character. A wounded hero with an untreated injury recovers 1 endurance point from a long night's rest. A wounded hero with a treated injury recovers 2 endurance points. An uninjured hero recovers 2 endurance points plus a number of points equal to their heart rating. The recovery rates listed below concern companions enjoying a night's sleep in a safe place. Traveling companions recover poorly until they find a proper refuge. See Recovering Endurance While Traveling on page 162. There is a feature ability called Shake Off Weariness. A weary adventurer's endurance score is higher than their fatigue rating. After a night's sleep or comparable rest is now properly rested. A character who was weary before they rested may now uncheck the weary label on their character sheet. Heal wounds, update fatigue rating. Okay, so 162.
I might just give it 30 minutes.
Recovering endurance while traveling. A companion may be forced by the circumstances to start a journey while still recovering from injuries or harm. Moreover, an unexpected event may inflict a loss of endurance along the journey itself, for example, as a consequence of a hazard episode. Due to the general discomfort of the traveling accommodations, an injured companion will find it much harder to rest and recover while on a journey. Traveling heroes recover a reduced number of endurance points for every prolonged rest they enjoy. As usual, the amount depends on the current health of the character. A wounded hero with untreated injury does not recover any endurance while traveling. A wounded hero with a treated injury recovers 1 endurance point. An uninjured hero recovers 2 endurance points. The companions resume their normal pace of recovery when they reach the end of the journey, finally get to rest in a safe place, and then for a precise definition, you are not in a safe place.
How long do we have to rest to recover any endurance points?
So for heart, right, it would be 30 minutes?
So if it was temporary, like with a check mark, that's where you apply the heart score in this circumstance.
I've got an
If
X.
you've got an X, you've got to do a long rest of 8 hours. And if you had a wound, you won't recover anything if it wasn't treated. If you had a treated wound, you would recover 1 endurance. If you did not have an injury, then 8 hours of rest, you recover 2 endurance points.
So, right now I have 13 endurance points.
Okay?
My fatigue is 14.
Yes.
If I drop my shield,
Yes.
which is 3,
Yes.
will that bring me back up to 16 and make me not weary?
No, it would lower your fatigue. Remember, you want your endurance to be above your fatigue rating, your encumbrance rating.
Right. Oh, so it would drop my fatigue.
Exactly.
It would increase. Okay.
Exactly. That's how that works.
Then how does so now?
Because it's the ratio. These are all
Okay.
ratios.
So now my fatigue is 11 and my endurance is 13.
Correct.
Does that impact my weary score?
You are no longer weary.
Okay. Thank you.
I believe. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna put my spear down because I'm not dropping my leather corset. I'm not leaving my great axe, and my dagger gives me no encumbrance.
Okay.
So that will drop my because I'm basically at 18 endurance right now because I was strangled,
Sure.
but I'm at 18 fatigue.
Yeah.
That's why I'm weary.
Yep. So that'll help.
Yeah.
And then if you get 8 hours sleep, you can gain back 2 endurance points.
Yeah.
So there's the ratio, and then there's the actual points. So again, there's a lot of granularity to this. Again, it seems with these character sheets to be a very simple system,
But it's
and yet it has a lot of flexibility to it. It's clever in how the mechanics work that way.
Yeah. So
How much
we'll leave the
is
How much-
the cloak of mail? It would be.
The cloak- The coat of mail is 16.
I know it's 16, but what is it enhancing? What would I drop? Armor?
Trotter, what are you
No,
doing?
If you dropped it, then this
goes down.
Yeah. I'm gonna just do the helm.
I guess maybe I'm looking around to see if I can find some more clues to figure out what these tracks are from.
Okay. Roll either your search or explore, whichever is better.
So that will be gone.
Well, they're the same, so.
Okay.
Yes! Gandalf and 5 more for good measure.
Nice. All right. You also see these are definitely dwarven tracks that lead straight into the pool and do not leave. They are definitely the same booted feet you've been following all this journey. You know, once you picked up their tracks, you know it's their tracks going into the pool. They probably got lured in by the same thing that you guys nearly were.
Okay.
And, you know, being
So-
fewer, they didn't have the help of others.
We need to go in. I don't dare sleep in this place.
Well, and with the bell going off, it could have been an alarm bell.
I'm.
It
I can
is
make a suggestion
pitch
after we
black,
get a bit of rest.
except for
we
your
make
torches.
A beeline for the eagles, 'cause clearly
your first torch that you lit sputters out.
Okay.
You still have what, 3 other torches lit? Yeah.
I hate to say it, but clearly I think they're gone. I don't think we're going to be able to bring any word back. Well, they're gone. I think we should make, as soon as we can, we make a beeline for the eagles, because we're not going to find them. Well, I think we found them actually, but we need to get out of here.
We might.
Says the
get
guy
help
who's
from-
not tired.
We might get help from the eagles.
Well, I think they're beyond help. I hate to say it. No offense to your people, but
We don't know that there's a hole. We just know that that there's water.
No,
well, we don't see
yeah.
we don't see dwarves swimming around, so I think they're gone.
No, I was telling Baron
Okay.
that there was a gateway down.
Underwater passageway.
Underwater passage, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
looked like into the darkness.
I want to rip a strip of cloth from some of my clothes, enough to wrap around my head.
Okay.
Okay.
To try to plug your ears more, or?
Then I'm going to take some mud from the river, stuff it into my ears,
Okay.
and then seal it with.
So you watch Baron doing this.
I do that.
Okay.
Like I tie a rope around you,
Mhm.
and then you go in.
Well,
Just one scout.
Okay, don't verbally explain if he can't hear you.
No, not to him. I'm looking to them.
All
One
right.
scout into the thing, rope attached.
sure.
Okay. I think we should leave.
I put my axe in the boat, and I grab the spear instead.
And I go to wrap it around him very cautiously, like I really hope he understands what I'm doing. Wrap the rope. Or actually, you're still tied up.
Yeah.
Untying the rope from you.
Yeah, untying Trotter.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and we'll have to re-tie him because it's around his shoulders. I mean, it's around his upper
I figured by
arm.
this time I've been, untied.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll retie lower.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
2 times?
You're able to talk.
Yeah.
I'll let you put mud in your mouth.
I take the feathers out. I wasn't able to swallow them. I 2 tugs.
Pull you back.
I'll go diving.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna walk over to the
Okay.
pool.
It's unnaturally cold. But now you see on the opposite end a little, entrance that's just barely submerged.
Okay, I'm going to steel myself
Okay.
and lightly go in. I'm
Okay.
trying to disturb the water as little as
Okay.
possible.
All right. So you work your way in, making as little disturbance as possible quietly. You're gonna have to hold your breath as you duck under. What are you doing for a light source? It's pitch black.
I'm feeling my way.
Okay. You feel your way along, and at some point the ceiling raises up a little bit, and then you feel no ceiling above you, and then the surface starts to come up, and you break out of your head breaks water.
Okay.
It's pitch black. You can tell through the sound of water dripping off you, you're inside some sort of chamber. You can't see anything. You have faint glow in the water back the way you came from their torchlight, but that's it. It's not coming through.
Okay. I'm judging how much rope I have left.
Okay, it looks like you Walked
rope is
about
20 feet
about
long.
yeah. You walked about. Oh well, it's only 20 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, well the pond is 10 feet, so that's not, yeah. So you're at the edge of your rope. You can't even get out of the water when the rope goes taut.
So I can't even break the surface?
You just your face barely breaks the surface.
Okay. I'm gonna sit there for a while and try and let my eyes adjust.
Okay. You wait.
Okay.
Every now and then, because of the torchlight behind you, there's a little ripple on the ceiling, some high ceiling, but you can't make out anything more than that.
Okay. I sink back down.
Okay.
And
I feel it going.
Yeah, you feel it go slack.
okay.
Okay.
And I'm
Pulls you back. All right. You come back out. You're shivering cold.
What's down there?
A lot of that is dissolved into your ear.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
That makes me have to touch my
And
ears.
you end up pulling out an actual worm
Ugh.
that was in the mud. You're wormed. No wonder it was so effective.
I thought I heard something.
It's completely dark in there. Can't see anything.
I've
It's
got
about
a
20
hooded
feet in
lantern.
though.
Would a hooded lantern get? Yeah, well, I don't know that there's air down there, so.
There's a bit of air.
I've got a
It
hooded
sounded like there was a
lantern.
chamber. You just
There-
couldn't. The rope wasn't long enough.
There's something further in there. We need some type of light source.
If we bring the lantern, perhaps light it once we get out of the water.
You'll need to seal it in something.
Yes.
Do we have any oil?
I've got lamp oil,
How much rope do we have?
20 feet
Total.
total. Unless you guys got. I've got a water skin.
Where would I see if I've got any?
Everybody was allowed to just equip their characters when they were back at Lake Town. I said, write down whatever equipment you think you need.
Yeah,
We didn't do that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to say you have rope, that's fine.
I see we. And
What,
these,
someone else has another 25 feet of rope? Or 20 feet of rope?
Feel free.
yeah,
whatever.
I need more of a line. I think the lantern will work. I can get my head above water, but
Okay.
I need to light it. I wouldn't trust more than one person in
Okay.
here. And I then go back into the water so that my body is not feeling the difference.
It's taking the heat right out of your body.
Oh, in that case, yeah, I'm trying to warm up as best as I can.
Okay.
Try and build a fire.
Okay.
We're going to need it.
So,
So I have fire.
There's lots of
maintenance, and
deadwood.
I start.
Yeah, automatic success then. How big a fire are you building?
I am building the smallest one. As a matter of fact, I dug
Remember,
out
there's
a
still
little-
hundreds of crows around.
I dug out a little bit of a hole so that the fire could be in the ground.
Okay. Actually, there is a fire pit already.
I dug out
old
inside of the
one.
fire pit to
Okay.
make it so it's in the ground.
Okay.
We're going to need it a little bit bigger than that. I'm a big person and I need a warm up.
You are, chattering teeth big time.
I'm
The
making it
mist
bigger.
here is just making you colder.
I'm keeping the like around the lit fire. I'm just like making the hole bigger and bigger and
Okay.
bigger.
Alright. Alright.
I only get
It's
up
slowly
around the
starting to
outside.
seep back into your
So there's a
bones and
little
get your
bit-
fingers moving again.
I'm working them.
Yep.
And I'm going to eat some of my rations to make sure I've got some food in me.
Okay.
Okay.
So-
the best I can do to get the oil lamp is to stick it in a water skin and fold that as tight as possible.
I think that'll work. I check on me. I'm going to grab my flint and steel.
Okay.
The hooded lantern in the water skin, tied up.
You'll have to slit it open to even have a chance of fitting it in there. You'll have to ruin the water skin. Just so you know, if you want to make that happen.
Would a cloak be very?
It would give you a short amount of time
I've
before
got an
it
orc
penetrated. That would work.
Let's use the orc hide.
Okay.
Why do you have an orc hide?
Why would you have an orc
Because I
hide?
got one somewhere along the way.
You skinned an orc? Or it's the hide that an orc wore?
It just says
I think that's
orc
their.
hide.
Oh, I think that's their armor. I think it's the hide armor that they wear. I think that. I can't imagine Poppy skinned an orc.
No,
Dried the hide.
she wouldn't have skinned the orc, but she might have accepted it from somebody else.
I think it's orc hide armor. I think that's what it is. So that would not work.
It doesn't say armor. It just says orc hide.
So, well, look through your notes. Did you skin and dry the hide of an orc or something? On your dark side?
My notes are tiny. It's going to take me forever to read.
Question from the
So,
carp.
By the
Do we
way,
have-
I may need to give out a couple more shadow points, so I need to quickly, and we're running times, and this is one of the key things about TOR I want us to talk about. And it's an AIM as well, but it's very important for our populations that we work with. So, shadow
I
points.
should have got a shadow point.
A couple of people here, I think, should
When
have.
I looked-
It's kind of scattered across several pages, so I'm going to read each of these shadow entries for you. Shadow. A hero's shadow rating undermines their hope score, as their spirit is being weakened and corrupted. A hero is considered miserable as long as their hope score is equal or lower than their current shadow rating.
You want to hand me the black so I can hand them as you go?
Well, once I determine whether that crossed the line or not, as far as tossing each other in the river and such.
Yeah, because you and me would get one puppy.
I already got one for dumping you in.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So then I need one for trying.
Yeah.
81. Okay, we already read about fellowship and how you can use that to get hero points with your shadow. 128. Shadow points reflect the marks left on a character when their spirit is tainted by doubt and despair. Starting characters begin with a rating of 0. 129. Okay, we already read about miserable when their hope score is equal to or lower than their shadow rating, as well as other sources of harm can cause a hero to become temporarily miserable, even if their hope score didn't fall below the shadow rating. And then as long as you're in the miserable state, you're in danger of suffering a bout of madness. Remember the difference between, what's the difference between an X and a check mark?
Check is only temporary.
No, X is, check is only temporary, X is more permanent.
Yeah.
It takes longer to recover. Okay, 130. There is something to be aware of in combat called a killing blow and a coup de grace, just so you're aware of that. There's poison stat, there's recovery. Okay. Sour Eye, if you're a miserable and you roll Sour Eye, that's about a madness. 133. And again, this pretty much applies to AIM as well, although they don't have hero points. So it's figured a little differently. Fellowship Focus, Source of Hope. Okay, 134. Treasure, of course, you have to worry about your shadow weakness coming into effect when you come across things like treasure and such. So watch out for that, which as we have seen. 145. Corruption test. The lore master may call for corruption test when a hero faces something that could taint their spirit. See part 7, the shadow. A corruption test is made using the feat die plus a number of success dice equal to the character's wisdom rating. Most time target number for the roll is 14, but it can be raised or lowered by the lore master depending on the severity of the source corruption. Also if you're in blighted areas and such. If the roll is successful and the test has been passed and the character does not suffer any negative consequences. If the roll has failed, the character gains a number of shadow points based on the severity of the event. Page 222, which we'll be getting to. Players keep track of shadow points by entering their current total in the small box found along the one used to record a character's hope score on their character sheet. Corruption tests are related to the heart attribute and can profit from a heart attribute bonus. So if you spend a hope point to try to make up for it. Okay, that was 145, 198. See, it's all scattered throughout, all these little tidbits. Heal corruption. Heroes feel the burden of the shadow weigh heavily upon their shoulders long after their adventures are over. Their minds remain bent on dark thoughts, and visions haunt them in their dreams, if not even during their waking hours. But those who choose to fight the encroaching darkness may have a way to oppose the taint of corruption. Heroes reduce their current shadow rating, attempting... This is during the fellowship phase, so this is after. But if you do a craft or song and roll a target number 14 or higher, on a successful roll, they reduce their score or shadow points by 2 on a success, 4 points on a great success, and 6 points on an extraordinary success. So that gives you an idea of how much you can clear. Permanent shadow points gained when suffering a bout of madness can never be healed. Characters spending their fellowship phase in a sanctuary are entitled to 2 rolls, while heroes who return home are allowed a single roll instead.
What madness can ever be healed?
If you have a bout of madness, the shadow points you gain from suffering a bout of madness can never be healed.
Okay.
Because depending upon what you end up with. Companions belonging to different cultures resort to different methods to get rid of corruption. Dwarves usually turn to the forge to burn their frustrations smiting the red iron of the anvil. Hobbits dedicate themselves to a beloved activity, like gardening, painting, or writing a diary. And elves and men generally create, play, or recite poems and songs. Okay, that was 198. 222. Now we're getting to the meat of it. The shadow. The shadow. The shadow. I have seen 3 ages in the west of the world, and many defeats, and many fruitless victories. I think that was Elrond. Middle-earth has been under attack by the forces of darkness since its creation. Through each age, the world has been threatened by the designs of a Dark Lord, a powerful enemy relentless in the desire to dominate all. Sauron the Great, an evil spirit of immense power, might already be far closer to victory than any dare dread. The presence of the enemy weighs upon the hearts of most inhabitants of Middle-earth, with the exception of a fortunate few living in the havens of the northwest. Multitudes living to the east and south worship him as the only god they have ever known. If you ever want to get an idea for it, watch the Midnight Chronicles role-playing game movie that they made. So Fantasy Flight Games, as an introduction to their campaign, has a 45-minute movie they made that's actually pretty good, which is basically if Sauron won, what it's like to live under his rule. Totally dystopic, with orcs and everything in charge.
And we don't have access.
And only the Northwest Middle-earth is not living like that. The rest of the world is under his control like that. Yes?
With respect to my orc hide, I can't find it in my notes, but if memory serves, Drake was the one
Who skinned it.
who skinned it.
Okay. I could see him doing that. Yeah.
So,
Might have picked up a shadow point of the process, but okay.
Sounds like Drake.
The free peoples of the North are among those few who have cherished a glimmer of hope. The knowledge that, as powerful as he appears to be, Sauron can be resisted and even defeated by steadfast opposition. Countless battles have been won or lost by alliances of the peoples of Middle-earth, and though the shadow has never failed to return in a new shape, even after the most resounding defeats, neither has hope ever fully deserted the hearts of those who fought against it. But the shadow does not solely rely upon instruments of war, and the devious deeds of its servants to breed fear and doubt in its enemies. The temptations that dwell even in the hearts of the brave have ever been the ally of the shadow. Valiant warriors, adventurers, and kings can all stray from their path willingly, given the right circumstances. No matter how pure they believe their motives to be, or how just the ends, giving in to their darkest desires will eventually lead them to exert their power for personal gain or the domination of others. Adventurers accumulate shadow points to represent the growing burden of grief, doubt, weariness, and self-interest that comes to rest on the hearts and minds of those who oppose the shadow. While much corruption can be attributed to the anguish caused by the Dark Lord's deeds, the shadow can only work to exaggerate and nurture weaknesses that are already present. As the twilight of the Third Age approaches, the sources of corruption multiply and increase in severity. Heroes mainly risk gaining shadow points in 4 ways. Experiencing distressing events, anguish, crossing or dwelling in an area tainted by manifestations of the shadow, blighted places, committing despicable or dishonorable deeds regardless of the end they sought to achieve, misdeeds, taking possession of a cursed or tainted item or treasure, which that is. So anguish. Living the life of adventurers in a world where the light is fading, heroes will often be reminded of their own fragility and that of the world they know and love. When a character witnesses a distressing event or directly experiences a disturbing situation, they're required to make a corruption test. The table below provides a number of examples to help the lore master decide if a situation war requires a corruption test. The column to the right indicates how many shadow points a character gains. Sources of anguish. Natural but unexpected tragic event or very grievous event. Serious or mortal accident, death in the family, natural catastrophe. The hero gains 1 shadow point only if they fail their corruption test and they get a Sauron eye. Gruesome killing or dreadful experience. Orc work, senseless destruction, display of the power of the enemy. Awakening in a haunted tomb. Discovering a traitor among friends. Discovering villagers savagely mutilated. Seeing the mustering of a shadow army. 1 shadow point automatically. Harrowing experience, physical and spiritual torment, sorcery. Slavery, torture, the black breath, haunted by a white, seeing the eye, 2 shadow points automatically. Remember how many times Frodo kept doing that with the ring? Experience directly the power of the enemy, interrogated by the eye, captured by the Nazgul. Gain 1 shadow point regardless of the outcome of the corruption test, then gain 2 additional points if the test has failed. Blighted places. Yeah, we already had rolled for your blighted places. We've been doing that. You've been rolling on it. Each morning you have to do that, basically, or each night, whichever. Then it's, okay, misdeeds. You say that I was too strong and took it by force. For I am too strong for you, halfling, he cried. And suddenly he sprang over the stone and leaped at Frodo. Who was that?
Sean Bean.
What?
Sean Bean.
Who?
Sean Bean.
Sean Bean, yeah.
He had to do his destined to
Boromir,
die.
yes. Or else his show gets canceled.
Yes.
When he doesn't die. Even the most virtuous heroes can find themselves in circumstances that tempt them to do something that would call their integrity into question. Such misdeeds can be the result of an accident or misunderstanding, but could also result from the temptation to achieve a noble goal by nefarious means, yes?
Question. Dumping Belly into the water did not do anything but shore up my integrity for not putting up with his nonsense.
So I understand that's your character's motivation.
That's still.
Some might consider it bullying.
No, he was being a bully. I was standing up for myself.
Of course.
I think I should lose a shadow point because I got the gem away from the cursed dwarf.
Such misdeeds can be the result of an accident or misunderstanding, but could also result from the temptation to achieve a noble goal by nefarious means. In a time when the darkness is growing ever stronger, those who fight it must master and overcome the darker impulses within themselves. Listen to the better angels of their nature.
So I need one.
The lore master should usually warn the players when they're about to carry out a misdeed, and again, this is generally a more serious one, so, the problem is you're in a blighted area. That changes a lot of things.
Yes.
This can sometimes be a judgment call, but the misdeed table below can be used as the basis of the lore master's decision. If the lore master determines that a misdeed has been committed, the guilty character automatically gains a number of shadow points based on the table. Characters do not make a corruption test when committing a misdeed, so they don't even get a test. As they are not being tempted by the shadow, they are willingly embracing its ways. So domination of others is one of the key things. It is important to note that merely attempting to do something despicable is a misdeed, regardless of whether the action achieves its intended objective or not.
I need a new shadow point.
If the action is classed as a misdeed due to circumstances that the players are unaware of, for example, if they ambush someone they completely believe to be guilty of a heinous crime, unprovoked aggression, but who later turns out to be innocent, they should not immediately gain the shadow points. Instead, their behavior when the mistake comes to light determines if they take the points or not. If the reaction is one of contrition and an earnest attempt to put the situation right, then the points can be waived at the lore master's discretion. This shouldn't be too easy an option and could result in a side quest for the characters to make up for it. So, accidental misdeed, no shadow point. Violent threats. Just making a violent threat. 1 shadow point.
Boy,
I get that
So
for
you
trying
get
to
a shadow
intimidate the
point.
crows.
And you get a shadow point. And you get
Lying, just lying purposefully, subtly manipulate the will of others. 2 shadow points. Remember, you're supposed to be heroes. Cowardice, theft, and plunder. 3 shadow points. Unprovoked aggression. Now, it is unprovoked. Abusing own authority to influence or dominate. 4 shadow points. Torment and torture or murder. Murderer. 5 shadow points. So, what do you think? Now remember, you're in a blighted area, so a lot of these things are made worse. That normally wouldn't be that big a deal. Okay, so you need one.
And you need one for threatening to hurt me.
And I already got one.
Yeah. And who were the 2 who wrestled with each other and had to be stopped?
Well, that was...
That was you 2?
Yeah, and that's
Okay.
you already gave me a shadow point.
What about
I
him?
was trying to protect the group by protecting the gem from the cursed dwarf touching.
Were you just defending yourself, or were you also trying to throw him in the thing?
He was
No,
threatening,
okay.
he was
Then you're
threatening
fine.
me, though.
Oh, did you? What did you threaten?
I threatened that if he touched that thing again, that I was going to cut his hand off. I was going to take the party though.
Cut his hand off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
That's a shadow point.
Threatened with violence.
So, do you see how useful this is for behavior modification for at-risk population to understand
But I
when
was
you're
doing
crossing
a
a
very
line?
noble thing, protecting the party.
Yeah, okay, so do I need to read this again? That no matter... So, temptation to achieve a noble goal by nefarious means...
So if someone declares war on you, you just have to stand there and take it, or you get shadow points?
No, if Sauron declares war on you, you don't have to do that. If it's one of your fellow heroes and compatriots that you're supposed to be supporting...
But this fellow compatriot wouldn't give me the box, and now someone is dead. I was proven right.
Oh, yeah. Did you
So,
get a shadow point?
again,
Yeah.
no matter how the ends end up being, if it was not noble in how it was handled.
Again,
So,
don't justify the
so
results.
yeah, so if you said to him, hey, you know what? You're dealing with we're really concerned about this. You need to hand this over so we can get it away from you.
I tried that, and now someone's dead.
Okay. Still, do you understand the difference here between the cutoff? Because so this is again going on Tolkien's concept, and yes, it is an old concept that people nowadays don't like. Everybody's moral relativity, and he had a pretty cut and dry idea of heroic versus non-heroic behavior.
Well, I think it's heroic to
And-
prevent future deaths by the cursed dwarf touching the gem.
You also didn't give...
But that's still
give
justifying the way you did it. Now, if you had handled it differently, if through, working with each other and coming to, not forcefully or sneakily stealing or forcefully
It was nothing sneaky.
or making
That's what I
threats.
told everybody what I was doing. No, I...
Okay, but that's not what the
Protection.
shadow point's for. Taking it is not why you're getting a shadow point. You didn't steal it, right? You got everybody's permission while he was unconscious, kind of. Now this is where the lore master has to decide. It seemed to make sense because it looked like it was a danger, but then when you made a threat of harm to your fellow adventurer, so if Boromir said, "Give me the ring, or I'm going to cut your hand off because that ring is too dangerous and I can protect you better," how is that any
But
different?
Boromir's acting
How is that
out of
any different?
self-interest.
Okay, but from what he said, well, so were you. You were also worried about what was going to happen to the party. You didn't trust him.
I was
Boromir
acting
didn't trust
for self-
Frodo to be
I
strong
was acting
enough.
off the evidence that his action...
Actually, Boromir.
villain
Actually,
is a
no.
hero in
Boromir
their
wasn't
own
self-interest.
setting.
Boromir truly believed that was the best way to protect his people, all the free peoples, as the wardens of Middle Earth.
But
He
I had
believed
empirical evidence that him touching
as
killed people.
and that it was his family lineage from Isildur down and everything, that as part of the son of the king of Gondor, the steward of Gondor, that they had the right to that ring more than anybody else to fight and protect it against the evil of Sauron. That's what he believed.
This is actually one of the ways
But I'm
that
not trying to keep the gem for myself. I'm just trying to keep him from
It
ever
doesn't
touching
matter.
I
it.
understand that.
Every
But you see how the justification works versus, because if you take away free will, now if he said, you know what, that's a good argument, I better give this because I'm really tempted by this, no problem, you wouldn't have had any shadow points.
But I already tried
But you threatened to
that.
cut his hand off?
He wasn't reasonable.
Okay, but you threatened to cut his hand off.
Yeah.
Still
Now,
makes rubbish, but
if he had started, well, but I want you to understand this because this is important for the population we're working with. You're going to have these situations. You need to really. This is what I really like about TOR and AiMe compared to some of the other systems which have relative morality, which these kids need more concrete definitions of right and wrong. When you get into the gray areas of relative morality for these at-risk populations, it's dangerous for them. It really,
especially if they're really logical.
Yeah.
And they start with a logical fallacy.
my eldest son, who has a 100th percentile score on logic, he starts from a point of fallacy, but he can logic anything from there. So then he can justify anything, even though his beginning premise is corrupt. Even though his intentions may be good, he works himself into a logical situation that causes all kinds of problems. So this is very important with these at-risk populations, that we spell out very clearly a code of conduct based, in this case, on Tolkien's ideal of a very black and white, right and wrong, clear lineage of dominance of others, threatening your fellow adventurers. Now, if you threaten an orc, like if you come at us, I'm going to cut your hand off, that's not considered to give you a shadow point because of the orcs. So again, it's an antiquated way of looking at right and wrong. It's not moral relativity, which is the current modern age thing, postmodern
I'm still claiming
approach.
the capital punishment penalty defense, but okay.
Which that doesn't go against Tolkien's code. They had execution for traitors and things like that in Tolkien's
Well,
world.
I see the dwarf's action as being traitors because I tried to reason he wouldn't give it up. He lost a person. And, I mean, I'm going to accept the shadow point, but I still think it's...
Do you feel like that's totally arbitrary? You don't think that's appropriate to Tolkien's setting?
I'm just looking at it from the aspect of this had nothing to do with me, and I'm not keeping it in my possession. I'm just keeping it away from the dwarf.
Right.
And telling him very specifically, if he tries to touch it, based on the problems he's already caused, that I will personally make sure that he can never touch
That you will cut his hand off.
Yes.
That's where it crossed the line. If you had said, we're doing this to protect the people and such, that was, you were discussing it, but you made a personal threat to one of your compatriots.
Well,
even whatever
personal
you
threat
felt he
any
was
different
struggling
than
with.
having a law that says if you kill someone, you'll be executed.
This isn't, we're not talking about law here, we're talking about the code of conduct between your compatriots and your fellowship.
Well, isn't a nation a group of compatriots?
Okay, see, this is where we
No,
start to get into the
I'm not
moral
trying to be
relativity, postmodern
I'm
thing.
not trying to be facetious.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, from my perspective.
We're talking about your fellowship here. This is the fellowship of your group.
Yes.
You're supposed to be looking out for each other.
And his actions are directly in danger.
Right,
of the fellowship.
which verbally bringing that up and saying this is a problem. See, we want to encourage these kids to talk these things out and not threaten or do violence to work these issues out.
I tried that. I failed my reason roll, but I tried that.
Okay,
So
I
try
understand
again.
that. So then you either try again or get somebody else to try. You don't threaten them. What do you want to teach these kids? Do you want to teach these kids, well, if you fail the first time, resort to violence or resort to threats of violence? Or do you want to teach them that, okay, if you don't succeed the first time, either try again, or get somebody else to help you to resolve the issue? What would you rather teach them?
That's fair.
Okay. So that's really important, and that's why I'm focusing on this, because this is the key to when we work with a large number of at-risk youth and adults. We're going to be working with incarcerated people, right? You need to not have moral ambiguity. The moment there's moral ambiguity, it is the thin edge of the wedge, and very easy to justify going down all sorts of dark paths. And that was the key thing about Tolkien. Now, again, this is considered antiquated, outdated modes of thought, but it is extremely helpful for helping people trying to steer themselves a little more clearly, because folks who struggle with that, clearly defined parameters make life a lot easier to deal with than this vague gray thing that they're not sure where the line is. And so we want to be very clear in these games. You know, if that crossed the line, here's a shadow point. Now, the good thing in this game, because you have so many hero points, again, with TOR versus AiMe, it's a little different, is they get a lot of warnings. Like, oh, you got to have a shadow point for that. They get time to learn, like, ooh, that crossed the line. You don't want to. I'm trying to explain it so you understand, because as game masters, I want to be on the same page.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is your training. For them, they need to just learn through causality. Don't argue with them. Go, oh, is that what you do? You threaten to cut his hand off? Yeah. Okay, your character just gained a shadow point for that threat to cut his hand off. You need to be very specific about the reason why. You can say, up until that point, you were trying to look out for everybody, but as soon as you threaten harm to him, rather than trying to talk it out or have somebody else try to talk him out of it, that crossed the line. You gave into to Sauron's way of doing things, because that's how Sauron would do it.
Yep.
He would exert his will and dominance over others, rather than try to work it out as the free peoples.
The only reason I
So I hope that's a really good example of when to use that. Use these freely. Now, these are not permanent shadow points, but you'd be surprised. If you have a troublesome group, they're going to rack up shadow points fast. And you're going to have characters who are going to get bouts of madness, and they're going to be a little frustrated by that. But what we've seen is even a character death can have an aha moment and turn around night and day. Losing control of their character is very frustrating for them. We're trying to teach them frustration tolerance. There's an escalation process of losing control of your character. If they keep pushing and pushing, eventually they completely lose control of their character. They no longer get to play it. But there's warnings along the way. It isn't all or nothing. It's a gradual progression. And they have and that's why these tokens are better than just the numbers. They can see the stack growing and shrinking. Nice physical token economy thing. And let them know that you can undo this later, but during the adventure, this is all you've got. So you'll want to give them those warnings. So, yes.
Anything that I did with the crows cannot give me shadow points.
No. They, again, very cut and dry. They're evil. If you had tortured the crows, that's like torturing an orc is torturing an orc. That's wrong. And some people will still do it, but they'll rack up shadow points for torturing because the free peoples don't behave the same way, aren't supposed to behave the same way as the shadow folk.
So skinning an orc was probably not.
Drake would have racked up some shadow points, I'm sure, for that. So this is TOR versus the little bit of time you've had with AiMe. Have you played AiMe yet?
Nope.
Okay, so it's D&D 5th edition. It doesn't have hope points. You do get inspiration, but you only get one of those, right? It's not cumulative. So it doesn't have as much flexibility. Also, with D&D, everything is binary, right? Success or failure, success or failure. There's no real gradient. You can crit, that's about it. This, you notice, everything has gradients of success and failure. And it's got all of these role play mechanisms that aren't as much in the D&D side. They're there, but they're not as much emphasized. So what do you think of your experience with TOR? And again, we haven't finished the adventure, but from what you've experienced so far.
I don't know if it was just the pacing of it, but I tend to have some problems with Saber Knight situations where it felt like unless based entirely off of it seems like arbitrary dice, I can be put in a situation where there is absolutely nothing that I can do, and I felt like that for like the entire party with the Gallows Weed.
Okay, so compare that to D20, which is much more binary and you have less range of gradients of success and failure.
I understand the gradients.
Because those of us who roll bad luck all the time are going to have bad luck all the time.
Yeah.
But I like this in that it isn't always absolute failure, absolute success. I can have ranges of success and failure, which gives me a little bit more wiggle room that feels a little less frustrating.
And I understand that. And for me, especially considering the way I play, I try to make up with my bad rolls with good tactics.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that.
With the Gallows Weed, it was immediately...
The Gallows Weed had an automatic... If you didn't spot it and you didn't know enough to know what to identify, it says very clearly, automatic success.
Automatic success? Automatic
for
failure.
hitting. Automatic hit you, automatically get you.
Automatic success for the weed.
For the weed, yes.
Yeah.
But then once you became intimately familiar with what it was, once you could recognize it, you didn't have to dodge constantly or anything.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of recognition. Because remember, you're going through weeping willows and everything, and you didn't know what to identify. So that's why it was that. Now again, this was also meant as an introductory adventure to try to teach you some of these concepts. Some things were a little oversimplified. Often there's more gradients than that, but this was simplified.
Yeah. And as I said, it may have just been because of the pacing, because you said you basically did this to half the party, to the entire party, as opposed to one person at a time, where we had a chance to react.
Right, I was rushing. I definitely rushed things with
that's the only thing.
As we are over again here.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the system. So set aside the adventure, because the adventure, this is not how you would run an adventure with the group normally.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be introduced to the mechanics. That's what I was sharing.
later.
Thanks, love. So glad you could make it. I'll see you later tonight.
Thanks, it was fun.
I wanted you guys to see the differences from normal D20 in the mechanics, and so I was ruining a lot of the mystery by telling you a lot of this stuff because it was training.
Yeah.
So looking at that, what do you think of the system?
Other than that, I think it has a lot of potential.
Mhm.
I'd like to, I wouldn't mind playing it more to get a better handle of it.
Okay.
But I realize that I'm going to have to play it a lot more to really get a handle on it.
Yes,
Yeah.
like any other system that's different. Yeah, Danielle.
I like the physical manifestation of the shadow points a lot more. And I accrue shadow points on purpose. I knew I was going to
Sure.
get one for
That's fine.
flipping
Yeah.
the Hobbit, but at the same time, my character was irrationally mad.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
made total sense.
Yep. I was just playing your character. That's fine.
Exactly.
Okay.
And,
What do you think about this compared to AIM? You've had a lot of experience with AIM.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with AIM, and I think that being able to see it has a lot more value than
See what?
see.
Oh, the tokens and stuff. Yeah, and you can do that with AIM too. It's just you don't get the hope stack in
Yeah.
the same way, unfortunately.
Because
Because they don't have any hope points in AIM. They just have inspiration because it's D&D 5th edition.
Yeah.
And I think the hope points are an important...
Well, and it's to your wisdom, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Which, that's like 16 on some of these.
Yeah. Okay, but what did you think about the other mechanics?
I liked how you could see all your stats and it wasn't overwhelming. Like, sometimes when I hand this character
Yeah, the
sheet
character
out,
sheets are really simple, and yet you can do a lot.
even like the dog.
There's a lot of complexity for simple layout
Yeah. I feel like this is a lot.
for the AIM.
Sometimes,
So that's an
yeah.
AIM character sheet.
Yeah.
Versus
and
your
I'm
TOR
holding them
character
right
sheet.
next to each other because
Yeah.
I had them both.
Yeah,
They're not the same person, but
yeah, but it's same as far as
yeah. All I have to do is this. Have the right one.
And hold them up to the camera side by side.
Okay. But you get a lot more writing, which it
Yeah.
doesn't explain a little bit better.
So if you're looking at the camera, facing it on the left is the TOR character sheet, and on the right is the AIM Adventures of Middle-earth D&D 5th edition character sheet. Both in the same setting,
Yeah.
both from Cubicle 7.
I can even hold up both of the same character.
Yeah, that's okay. The point's made.
Okay.
What did you think of like the limited bit with the? We didn't get that far with the combat mechanics because that would have been the next part. But
I think that's I thought it was just fine.
how do you like that compared to
like-
the binary of D&D?
I like the dice. Having more dice makes you feel like you have more of a chance.
Okay. What
And
about
that's
the
just my own thing.
gradients of success and failure?
I do like that because
Okay.
I am one person that the range at which my dice land on is so huge. I will literally fail like one.
What do you
in
feel?
one roll
What did
and
you
then-
think of all of the? And this is in AIM as well, but not
Yeah.
5th edition, not in D&D. What did you think of all the role play mechanics that were there to
I like-
really emphasize the role playing?
I liked how it emphasized the role playing. I feel like AIM also does a lot of
Right. No,
nudging.
it uses this. It adapts those mechanics over.
Yeah. and
D&D
it does a
D&D
really
doesn't
good
do it
job.
naturally though. That's the
No.
layer added.
And that's where I have a hard time with my groups. Like, you have my trouble group this week.
You're fine.
I mean, they're fine. I like them. They are definitely
You have to be on top of your game.
yeah.
Yep.
They want to take over each of them individually and
Mhm.
kick down every door and
Yep.
loot everybody.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if there's nothing there, they get mad.
Yep.
But they're, I keep trying to talk them into trying this.
Okay.
They keep not wanting to.
I understand
I
because they're
think
already
that with
when
that kind
when
of a
you
group-
wrap up that campaign though, we're gonna have it's either gonna have to be that or nothing.
Yeah.
We'll have to try AIM or something
I
else or
think
nothing.
that we
or
need a
Doctor Who.
shorter campaign for it.
Well, I don't really want us doing the D&D campaign. I want them to be introduced through D&D if they're excited about that, and then say, okay, if you like this, we can put you through a campaign through Doctor Who, through Adventures of Middle-earth, these other options
Yeah.
that we can do a longer adventure. We'll do the intro for that so you get familiar with it, and then do a campaign. We're not doing campaigns for D&D necessarily.
I think that we need to get rid of Minds of Mandelver and pick a different server.
I keep asking what's a better one. I would be happy to if we could find a better one.
Once in
Shorter
Waterdeep
one.
is shorter.
Okay, is it railroady enough though? It seems a little too open-ended, isn't it?
Everything happens in the inn of the yawning portal.
Yeah, but it felt like it was very sandboxy as far as what could unfold. I've only played it once, so I don't know.
Well, isn't
I
that
haven't
part of
jammed it.
railroading, keeping corral?
No, it's the same. Is that it's too sandboxy.
And I
It
feel
felt like there was an awful right. Yeah, I would say we
The
want them to be
second-
railroaded,
the second
not
section
sandboxed
in
for
the-
introductions.
That's how I feel about the second set. I mean, like, you're railroaded. You're only going to do one of these.
Yeah, the second
45
set
packs.
becomes sandbox. I agree.
And the second setting.
Yeah.
In
See, I
Minds of
think as far as the intro part of Minds of Fendelver, the first part all the way up to where you take out the baddie and stuff, works okay as an introduction. It's a little too combat focused. Although we saw with GM Jen how we were
I
able to
still
completely
haven't
change
watched
that.
that.
Oh, you weren't here for that?
No.
We managed to turn it into almost a completely combat-free adventure.
We turned the entire cave into show teams.
We helped him do a rise up against their oppressive bugbear master. We barely killed anybody.
That's where it started, and then we turned it into Bugbear's going to turn it, the cave into a resort.
Right.
Oh,
Which completely turned it into almost a non-violent thing completely.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, but that was us being munchkins in a lot of ways. But we
was
completely
glorious.
changed. It was.
You
We
were
had a good
kicking down
time.
the door and
We had a
looting
lot of fun.
everything.
So, TOR versus AIM, what do you feel?
I like them both equally.
Okay.
I think they have their place. So for a younger audience or a less able to do the math that might be needed.
There's less. Okay, all right.
Well, I mean, you're looking at runes, and then you got 1 through 10, and versus the 20-sided die plus all these extra things plus
Right. So
your
which one do you
attributes.
think?
I think that the because of the role playing and the focus, TOR would be better for younger kids.
Okay.
Because then you can. I think these dice are easier to just look over and see because you're looking
Okay.
at 6-sided and
All right.
stuff like that. Whereas Adventures in Middle Earth, because it's D&D, it has that big scary character sheet. Would be more appropriate for people. I know it's not big and scary as
No, I know
like
what you mean.
I've seen worse.
Yeah. Rollmaster.
Rollmaster.
She's played Rollmaster for a while in Beirut and understands how much. But isn't it awesome once you get used to it? What you can do with Rollmaster with all that complexity,
so
it's actually quite neat.
I like what you can do with Rollmaster.
Yeah, but it
And
is a
for
long
an
learning curve.
advanced
Takes
person
4 hours to make a
who's not-
Rollmaster character at least.
Who's not, first time in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, second time
okay.
making a character.
Shane, you haven't had a chance with AIM yet, but compared D&D to TOR.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I think one of the biggest strengths of TOR is the shadow points.
And that is to a limited degree in AIM.
I think it's well, and also the hope and stuff like these, the visual representation of this, and I also like we've talked about the gradients. We were talking last time about how I don't like the binary thing because
Of D&D.
Yeah. Because I
Or
mean,
most role-playing games.
any adventure book you read, any
Mm-hmm.
adventure movie you see, sometimes the heroes they're competent, and sometimes they do these amazing.
And there should always be the David versus Goliath option too. And D&D doesn't really make that necessarily an option once you get to a higher level. It's really hard to do.
And one thing, like at first when we were playing, I kind of felt frustrated because I felt like 14 was a higher number, but then I got to thinking, if you make it a lower number, basically everybody can do almost anything.
Right.
And that does not make any sense. Like for
Right.
instance, what are the ones here? And it makes perfect sense. I'm this little hobbit. I have no extra dice for awe. So unless I happen to roll a Gandalf thing, I'm not going to be impressing anybody.
That's right.
And I don't know. I like the system in a lot of ways, and I would kind of like to see it, maybe take this and put it in other settings. We take the rules, but we're not in Middle Earth.
Sure.
For instance,
That's easily, yeah.
I really like the mechanics of this system.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
And there are
Doctor
similarities
Who
to
has-
this. Well, it is. They're both Cubicle 7.
Yeah.
There are similarities. There are also significant differences. Doctor Who, as far as I know, doesn't have a shadow points mechanism. So
They have the,
it's all about story points and
inspiration-
such.
Story points, yeah. And you do
But it's not
remove
the
them
same.
some-
Yeah, but it isn't the same consequences. You don't lose control of your character and stuff. This has real heavy consequences for bad moral play.
I will
This
say
is
it is
very
kind of
heroic.
frustrating trying to find information in the books.
Right, remember I told you, okay, maybe those versions are worse than the hardcover. Hardcover's better organized, has a working index. The old versions were terrible for that. Yeah, and that's the old versions there.
But, I don't know. I think it's really fun. I really,
But you see why I let
and even when you
GMs
were-
decide TOR or AIM.
Yeah.
Because I really kind of lean more towards TOR. For anyway, you say when I...
Well, even when you were breaking this down as a GM training thing, I still really felt that, when we were doing the story thing, it is so easy to get caught up in the adventure.
Yeah.
We're talking about flow. I think
Yeah.
this is a good one that once people understand the rules,
Yeah.
you can get a flow state a lot quicker because you feel...
It's very good about immersion in the setting.
Yeah, you really
it's
feel like
written
you're part
very.
of the
It
story.
really is in a feel of Tolkien.
Mhm.
They captured that beautifully. And you know me, I'm a major Tolkien fan, right? Tolkien Society, Other Minds magazine, all of that. I've been adapting role-playing games Tolkien since AD&D, since the 80s.
But
And
even
this
if
is
you
the
weren't
best
doing
one
a
doing so.
Tolkien-based thing. I
Yeah.
think the framework
Yeah,
of this setting, you could take,
sure,
completely homebrewing something
Yep.
and using this system.
sure.
Um,
Easily enough adapted, sure.
Yeah,
for any
I don't know.
heroic setting.
I had a lot of fun, and again,
Good.
I know I say this a lot, but I feel like I learned a lot more.
Good.
Both as things I might do as a GM and things I might do as a player.
Excellent.
And yeah, I think this was definitely a win.
Good. Yeah, and that's why I'm not willing to get rid of AIM, because it helps people migrate from straight D&D. It's familiar. It's less alien. So it's a good transition. But I've done this literally where I took people from D&D 3rd edition way back when I came here to Spokane, and I added my AOD20 rules, which was basically kind of what they do with AIM, which is the cultures and the race. The cultures and races were different that you had to pick from. But the classes and everything was pretty much the same, and then magic was chopped out and controlled differently. So it was D&D mechanics, but all of this racial culture stuff was very much Middle Earth. As they got used to that, and I introduced them to using herbs and all these other things that you don't usually do in D&D, which came from Merp and Rolas and others, which is great, which I do bring into this. And they actually did, in later editions, start bringing in herbs and stuff in adaptations to this, to a lesser degree. People get used to that style and way of play. They really like it. And eventually I got them to Merp, and then I got them to Merp and Rollmaster. And they were happier. But it was I had to do it gradually. If I said, yeah, let's play Rollmaster adapted to Middle Earth, and they see this 4-page character sheet that takes 4 hours, and you have
Minimal.
you have your current stats
Not
and
even
your
adding
temporary
everything.
stats, and then you got to reach where your potential is, and
And
I have
you
to do 3 sets of
calculate
stats.
each of those stats.
And then every single
Actual
skill has
traits.
everything's a spreadsheet. Everything's a complex spreadsheet. Complete overwhelm. But if you do it gradually, the boiled frog doesn't jump out.
And I almost think that you could take AIM and just steal the shadow thing from this.
Totally.
Because
Well, we have, as I said, we have Fellowship Focus. We've already adapted that. And I have wanted to make a better Hero Point Shadow Focus, kind of get rid of inspiration and use Hero Points instead in AIM.
That's what I think was
But I
actually
wanted you guys to give...
I was actually thinking about that.
It might have come things from Cherry, things from the table. But I want all of you guys to get familiar with TOR first before we'd start making such adaptations. So,
That's just one of my.
but I think TOR is better for higher risk populations than AIM. There's more behavior modification. It's clearer.
So,
Table?
It might be the table. Go ahead, Dave.
quick question.
Yeah.
Because I was actually thinking about the whole shadow and hope thing.
Yeah.
From that we're kind of tacked onto AIM. How do we calculate hope? How is that calculated?
I think it's based on heart and something. There's a formula at the beginning when you're making characters.
Okay.
These are all pre-gen, so you
I
skipped
think
all
it
of that
comes
process.
from. Some of it comes from.
Some of it's cultural, like which culture you pick, and then I think your heart, something
Yeah,
like that. I think
okay.
it's a combination of the two. And then sometimes you get little bonus ones based on cultural blessing, because you can choose different paths. Each culture has different pathways, and which one you pick, whether it's more aggressive or more spiritual, more valor
I think
versus
your
wisdom.
traits
I think your
also
wisdom. I think your wisdom also is a factor
Mhm.
versus valor. It's a formula.
Okay, because I'm thinking, I got a couple of ideas. I want to mull over them, but me figuring out how hope is figured out, I think I can come up with.
So the best way to do that is we do some sessions where we make characters from scratch in TOR, and then play through because the next adventure is basically the same one as Eves of Mirkwood, where you run into the spiders and all that other stuff. It's the same adventures. Again, they just rewrite. In AIM? Darkening of Mirkwood.
Darkening. Okay.
Sorry, not Eves. Darkening of Mirkwood. Basically, Darkening of Mirkwood that's in AIM is already the Darkening of Mirkwood that's in TOR. They're the same exact campaign, but I think Eves of Mirkwood's a better introduction. I think it's more organized and easier to do in a shorter time than Marsh Bell.
Yeah.
But you guys would want that experience. Then once you guys have that experience, then I would like to run by the different ideas for adaptations to AIM to consider to make it more TOR-like, if that's really the path we want to consider. Because it's not, the other way to do it is you introduce people to D&D 5th edition they never role-played before, because that's what everybody knows. You finish the intro for that. You want some more? Okay, now let's do the intro to AIM. They're going from 5th edition they're familiar with, now you've added a little something that they're not familiar with, you add it, but just a layer, and you just do Eves and Mirkwood with that. 1, 2, 3 sessions. Now they've done that, then you take them to TOR and let them have that full. That way you've graduated it. Oh, remember how on AIM it was this? Well, this is just like that. Remember this? Now they've got a parallel versus just throw them straight into TOR, which they've never heard of. And and if they did play D&D before, the concepts are completely alien. They don't. It's harder to correlate versus this 3-step process is where I think might be a better approach. But I'm not committed to that. This is just back of my mind thinking versus sticking to AIM.
I mean, older people could probably jump right into TOR, I think.
Except that if they already play D&D, there's a D&D bias, even if they're older.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to learn a new system. They're willing
That's
to take on
true.
a layer, but they're not willing to learn a new system unless you convince them, hey, you like these extra features? Well, how about the system that has it in full implementation rather than this partial halfway thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I did it with Rollmaster. So it's this graduated. Remember, I always talk about graduated learning.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Incremental. TOR is not a more complex system than D&D at all. It is not more complex.
I think in some ways it's easier because there's less.
It has more layers of results and subtlety with equal or fewer mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
The mechanics are pretty straightforward and arguably simpler than 5th edition mechanics in some
Well,
ways.
and that's why I said that
Yeah.
would work out better for younger kids.
The problem is the cachet that D&D has.
Yeah.
You see these kids coming up, I only want to play D&D because it's cool. Who would have thought? Yeah, well, it was that way in the 70s and early 80s. They want to play what everybody else is saying is cool. They don't know what these other things are. So, okay, we'll introduce them to Lost Mine of Fendelver, do the intro, then go AIM, then go TOR if they want to continue a campaign. So, short shot, campaign. Work them towards TOR if they want to do fantasy. Then if they want to do sci-fi, we've got Doctor Who. We still got to work out better intro for that. Superhero, we got to work out which superhero for that. But that's my thinking. I haven't nailed that down. So, and you guys need to learn more about TOR before you could say one way or the other whether that's a good idea or not.
Mm-hmm.
But would you guys like more TOR sessions to have that opportunity to learn more
Absolutely.
of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I definitely want to get into character creation because I've got.
Okay.
I'm formulating an idea.
Okay. And that means I will also get more copies of this book rather than the older one because this is better organized.
So my
And there's a lot
only
more supplements
question
for TOR than AIM.
is
More races
TOR
and stuff.
in print.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
never going out of print.
Well, every 5 years they have to renew the license and it's expensive.
Okay.
But if AIM is in print, TOR is 5 years ahead of AIM.
Okay.
Because they had it for 5 years before they went to expand it to AIM.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
see you got like settings for each area.
right. They've expanded a lot more cultures and extra. There's a lot more goodies, and now they're reprinting the exact same books. You see those other books? They're reprints of the TOR material
Yeah.
adapted to
Darkening,
D20.
Mirkwood,
Yeah.
Rohan.
It's the exact same thing. They're just running. They're playing catch up, and TOR always comes out first, years before the AIM content. Though AIM is rapidly
Oh.
catching up. Yes.
I noticed nowhere on the character sheet, cooking. I mean, we've got fire building, but not cooking. And I'm just thinking that is very central to a Hobbit's
I
life.
think cooking is an optional. I think you get to pick as you go through making characters. I think that is a choice in your specialties and such.
Okay.
I could be mistaken, and again, in the expansions too, there's more of those.
Because I was just thinking, if I would have built the character I'm playing,
Yes.
overall, I really like him, but I wouldn't
Yes.
put cooking in because
Sure. I believe that's an option. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's an option in the full making of characters.
So
you have a lot of choices.
So probably instead of smoking and being sedentary, I would ditch the being a good smoker and be a good cook instead.
You have lots of options.
Yeah, no, I was just curious.
What I'm a little weird about is that it's all point allocation character creation. There's no rolling to make a character. There's no random creation for your character.
Oh.
It's all it's all choices,
Mhm.
and it's all kind of branching choices. And you either have this or this, and then this or this, and then this or this, or you get to put a priority of points.
Mm-hmm.
It's not straight points. It's not like you got 20 points, put them where you want them. It's one of these will have 3 points, one of these will have 2 points, one of these will have 1 point. Which ones do you make your priority?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of forced choices. I'm always kind of about that, but
That's what I liked about the new system, though, for a system I'm not using for our stuff, but for paranoia,
okay.
is that they made you choose, especially for a character
I
that's
like
going to be kind of
I like the
disposable.
random part because I think that's a big thing that people just have. It pushes people outside of their comfort zone more. It makes them discover things they wouldn't have discovered if they always had a choice. Instead of random things that they have to just learn to deal with, and it pushes them to do things they would never thought to do on their own, but for random. But for fate, there go I. You know.
Well, I kind of think that in some ways, like when you're talking about, the basic stats, I think those should be random.
Mm-hmm. But they're not in this game.
And
They are in AIM. They're not in TOR.
And I also think that maybe like a skill group should be random, but then you get to pick. Like for instance.
Well, that's these are all columns based on that group. So
right. Yeah.
This is all designed this way intentionally.
But you'd have
it's for those attributes.
I guess maybe your background is random, and that kind of affects.
Yeah,
what
but they don't do that with TOR.
Oh,
So
no.
that's my only little pet thing. So I gotta get back to get the
I'm
house
sorry.
ready because
Yeah.
he's gonna be here soon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much I'm glad you guys enjoyed, and
Yeah.
we'll do lots more.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks everybody for making it. Be safe out there in the snow.
Are we still
And then,
recording?
yeah, we are.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
And then we'll be back tomorrow for the Heroes of the Mist, 6 to
Yes.
9 p.m. So see you guys then right here on twitch.tv/RPG Research. Everybody be well, happy gaming, Namadi.
Thanks for playing.